The following podcast contains naughty language and ridiculous situations. Listener discretion is advised.
Well, today's a solemn day because one of my heroes from one of my favorite movies of all time, in fact, I consider it to be the greatest comedy ever made, Police Academy 2, their first assignment, Art Matrano passed away yesterday, as a matter of fact. The news didn't break until today. And he was 84, natural causes, it seems. But he was in like Warhead, How to Beat the High Cost of Living. He was also in Rocket Attack USA, but he'll always be Captain / Commandant Mauser from the Police Academy films, namely Part 2 and Part 3. It's a damn shame, but you know what? He was in a wheelchair for a while, and it was just a matter of time with him because his health was declining over the past couple of years. So from me to Art Matrano, I give him a big yowza to you, buddy. Rest in peace. Welcome to Trick or Treat Radio.
Welcome all you little zombies. You're listening to Trick or Treat Radio, starring the Deadites.
Welcome to episode 476 of Trick or Treat Radio. Trick or Treat Radio is the world's most dangerous podcast and recorded in front of an undead studio audience here at Castle Wolfenstein, also at the Lair of Lost Swag within the Ravenchannel, also Casa de 50, the Lair of the Gods, and we're also broadcasting from the Great White North. We're joined by our good buddy, a.k.a. formerly known as Tim from Korea, now known as Tim from Canada and Ghetto Tim. We're joined by our buddy Tim. What's up, man?
How you doing? Thanks
Good.
for having me again. It's been a long time.
It's been far too long, my friend. It's great to catch up with you, and always love shooting the shit with you about films. You've brought some very interesting watches to us over the years. What was that first one, MZ? Do you remember? Taxidermia, yeah. Ravenchannel, you remember that one, right?
Yeah, that was fucking weird with the sauce, right? Didn't have a lot of sauce going on in that movie.
Yes.
The guy blowing the flame out his dick. I think you can relate to that, right, Ravenchannel?
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a couple times in the 90s and a couple times late. But yeah, no, I mean, there's things you just got to go to get health coverage.
Good health coverage. So yeah, it's great to have Tim back with us hanging out. We're going to talk a little bit about Fantasia Film Fest, the 2021 edition that just happened in August, and also for the film we're going to be discussing this week is a film called The Empty Man. I'm interested to talk about this one. It's got an interesting backstory behind it. It was the last film produced by 20th Century Fox before they were bought by Disney. So you can imagine there is some history to it. There's some interesting stuff that went on with this flick. So I'm looking forward to talking about that. And then, as always, we'll play some voice messages if we got them. I think we got a couple already. So if you guys are listening live, feel free to send any voice messages to podcast@trickortreatradio.com. It could be about the film we're discussing this week, The Empty Man. It could be about the films we've discussed in the past several weeks. It could be about any film we've discussed ever or anything that you're digging on lately. So, as always, we'll love hearing from you guys, so feel free to send a message, podcast@trickortreatradio.com. And let's see. And yeah, MZ, sad, man, about the your little intro there about Art Matrano. It looks like we got another unfortunate coffin corner this week.
Yeah. What's funny is that, and I keep looking for it on YouTube. I can't find it anywhere or any news about this, but I remember I was homesick from school one day, and back in the late 80s, there were a slew of these divorce court TV shows.
There was
You remember, right?
I loved it. There was divorce court, and there was the judge. Judge William B. Keene presiding was one of them. Yeah,
Could very well be. But there was one. But you know those. But they did one show. There was one program in which it was done. It was done with reenactments. It was all done with actors and actresses, and there was one that had Art Matrano in it, and it had him. The only thing I can remember distinctly was the provocative evidence that they had against the not the character, but the guy that Art Matrano was portraying, because these are supposedly taken from real situations and real court documents. And they showed Art Matrano done up in drag, and he's got like a dress on, and he's putting on lipstick, and he's looking at himself in a little compact mirror, and he's like touching his face up and shit like that. It just fucking killed me. I'm thinking they got, it would surprise me if part 2 or part 3 rather, they got a little bit of got their direction from that, because there's a scene where his eyebrows are taken off, because he always had wonky eyebrows. Something always happened to his eyebrows, and he would have them painted on, and he's like, well, I think I like it.
Right. The only other one I think could be the freakiest in drag that I've ever seen is Jim Varney.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And MZ's a big fan of Jim Varney.
Jim Varney in drag.
Know what I mean?
Jim Varney in drag. That was pretty rough. Right up there with the Three Stooges, But it's you can't. I don't think you could find it on his IMDb page. I tried looking one time, and I don't remember seeing it there. But yeah, there were these black and white photographs, and here he is, all done up in drag. Just killed me. So funny. But yeah, he was a hoot, and he was also in History of the World Part 1.
Yeah,
where he played Leonardo da Vinci. It's a small, tiny little scene, but man, he just steals it, because he's just, first of all, he's completely out of place, because it's Leonardo da Vinci painting the Last Supper while it's there, so it's so the time context is completely off, and he just had a real knack for comedy. And he had his couple of serious roles too, but his real area was comedy. He was even a stand-up comic at one point. I saw some of his work back in the early 80s. Hell of a funny guy, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. And made Police Academy 2 their first assignment. It just so funny. The shower scene in that. I mean, it just kills me every time I watch it.
This just reminds me that MZ needs to have a fucking Police Academy podcast, because you could literally talk about Police Academy for an entire fucking show and like have a fucking ball doing it. Our boy Double D.
Hey, well, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, Double D says, "Man, I don't want to be anywhere near MZ's list of favorite anything. All the people on his list are dead." It's true. Pretty much.
Yeah, which is why you guys are still alive.
Yeah, because you don't like us, thankfully.
You're not my favorite anything.
How old was he? He was 80-something?
Yeah.
84. Yeah, 84.
Was he like 40-something or 50 in Police Academy Deuce?
Deuce came out in 85,
Mm.
and that was, let's see, so 36 years ago. So he was, what, 48? If that math adds up.
He was younger than MZ when he did Police Academy 2.
You know what's really funny, and not to pimp another podcast, but one
please.
podcast that does give him props as well as a lot of other vintage and underlying comedians is Gilbert Gottfried's Amazing Colossal Podcast. Like they're always talking about guys like Art and Matrano. They're always talking about the classics. I mean, Henny Youngman and all those old school
Yeah, I listen to it all the time. I listen to it pretty much daily. And early today, I listened to him having Mario Cantone on, and
he's the funniest. Oh
God.
God, it'll kill you, man. Mario Cantone, the Christmas specials, it'll kill you. Wow.
Did he host a kid show called like Steam Pike? What the fuck? Steam Pump Alley or Steam Punk Alley? Steam Punk
Gilbert
Alley?
Gottfried?
No, Mario Cantone. He's very like fabulous, to be fair, right? He's very outrageous. But I feel like he, at least up in New England, he would do like interstitials to like a cartoon show.
Oh, okay.
Back in the day.
Okay. That's like back in the 70s when I was a kid. They had Charles Nelson Riley.
Yeah. It was like 1980s Charles Nelson Riley.
Right. Right.
What are you gonna do? But I'm once again, if we're talking about the Coffin Corner, I'm gonna butcher his real name in real life, but we said we met Omar from the Wire, man. Marion just turned me on to that show, and I'm coming to the party late, but that dude's fucking killer. So I'm right, like episode 2 or 3 when he shows up, and he's fucking.
I mean, everything that guy did was amazing. I mean, even if you look at Boardwalk Empire when he played Chucky White, I mean, like, that series didn't run long, but you couldn't take your eyes off that guy. Everything he was saying, Happen Leonard, The Wire, everything.
Yeah, we had saw didn't we all watch the first episode of Happen Leonard? Because when we talked to Joe R. Lansdale, I remember we talked about it. I don't know if you guys watched it, but he was real good in that.
And I think he was also in an episode of Community too, as well. He played a teacher, I believe.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Did a couple of sitcoms, I think. He's fantastic. 54.
Yeah, it sucked. Yeah, that's rough. And I think MZ mentioned this right before we started. I don't know if it was mentioned, if we mentioned it last week, but Daphne, former wrestler and manager, passed away over the course of the week. So that's a shame as well.
Absolutely.
So,
just to put it out there to anybody, if you're ever going over a rough patch and you feel like you're just in a hole, there's been people there that have been there before you, and there'll be people there that have been there after you, but there's always somebody you can reach out and talk to, for sure.
Yeah, not to make light of it, but just call MZ. Your life will feel a lot better after talking to him.
That's what I said. I say that all the time.
That little ray of sunshine has saved so many lives.
MZ,
that's not making light of it. That's actually true.
by the way, Ravenchannel, Double D said Steam Pipe Alley.
Thank you, baby. D, my man. Dude, just
Hash Pipe Alley?
not Hash Pipe Alley.
Pipe Alley.
That's the Ravenchannel show.
Out behind the Raven Castle.
Yeah. Hash Pipe Alley.
Excuse me for a minute, Johnny. I'm going up to Hash Pipe Alley.
He goes to the fucking backyard, huddles up next to the house. Hash Pipe Alley. All right, enough about the sad stuff. I want to catch up with Tim. Tim, what you been up to, man? I know you've been in Canada now, been back in the homeland, so to speak, for a couple of years now. How are things going for you, man?
Good. I mean, we're trying to get through everything up here as much as you guys are trying to get through it down there, and and it's so funny because it's like I was talking to somebody a couple of weeks ago, actually, about how you remember all the dystopian 70s sci-fi films like the Omega Man and Soylent Green and all of these things, and how everybody had ideas about what the future was going to be like with the flying cars and the robots and all that shit. But it was always the little subtle things that we never expected to actually become accurate. It was always those little things in the background that you never ever imagined, you know, like, for example, cell phones, you know, like that kind of thing, you know, like, but this whole, you know, pandemic thing, man, like this was, I mean, you know, they were talking about this in the 70s.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
That's the crazy thing is, you know, I don't think none of us have lived through something like this, you know, so it does seem like it's a new thing because,
right.
You know, but yeah, like they've happened throughout history and, you know, it was just a matter of time. And yeah, and like a lot of sci-fi and you know, and fantasy and horror even talk about things like this happening. And, you know,
sure.
Yeah. And so.
But what's even funny is like you look at some of the 70s stuff, like the Irwin Allen films, you know, like the Towering Inferno or all this, or like even How Prophetic was a couple weeks ago on YouTube. I watched this made-for-TV movie from 1973 called Heat Wave.
Oh, yeah.
About the environment changing and everybody having to suffer from the extreme heat. I mean, like, and this is like, you're looking like back then, you know, people were just like, well, this is a vision of the future. This is like pretty fucking accurate.
Yeah, no shit.
I mean, that's nothing new, but like, who would have thought that fucking Siegel and Schuster got it nailed down when fucking Krypton exploded? Jarrell's like, no, shit's gonna fucking happen. We gotta change our fucking Kryptonian ways. No, we're gonna still do fucking Kryptonian shit. Okay, planet blows up. What the fuck? You know what I mean? No, 1938. But I think even El Goro, speaking about plug-in podcasts, El Goro talked about it on a recent episode where he talked about the films of was it the guy that does a little animated cartoon you like so much on Fourth and Sensitive, Johnny? Tartakovsky?
Tartakovsky?
Tartakovsky.
Yeah.
He did that Primal. Didn't he do that one, the one about the caveman that just came out recently? I haven't seen it yet, but
yeah.
But Solaris in a lot of films and like, sci-fi. And,
wait.
That's a different guy entirely.
I thought you were talking about Jendy Tartakovsky.
Tartakovsky is a guy. Solaris and Stalker. That's a completely different dude, man.
But they're question though, right?
So, yeah, totally different dudes.
I'm embarrassing myself more than Tim. I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. No, it's all good, man. But they both drink vodka, right? So who gives a shit?
Yeah, no calories.
There's Tartakovsky and then Tarkovsky.
Yeah.
All right, but Tim, though, listen, it sounds really fucking close to something.
Sure.
Right?
But
sure,
do you think the dude that directed Solaris is doing a fucking animated Star Wars show in 2003?
That's why I was so excited.
Yeah. And he did Dexter's Lab.
Yeah, Dexter's Lab. Oh, DD.
Raven Shadow. Raven Shadow. Raven Shadow. You sound like a real jerk off.
But you know what, though? Not to take this any further on a tangent, but I always thought, man, like everybody always relied on Peter Lorre's voice because I always thought like Dexter was like Peter Lorre, and it was the same thing with Ren. Ren totally was just like, you idiot. You know, like it was that Peter Lorre, man.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, boss, I do. Oh, I love it much. Yeah. Give it to me. Oh, yes.
Jesus. Oh, shit.
Kubrick was going to do an episode of G.I. Joe.
Yeah, Kubrick did G.I. Joe, yeah.
Right. Full Metal Hasbro, yeah.
I heard Ken Burns is going to do a Transformers documentary next. What would that be called?
Well, didn't he just do that? Didn't he just do that Masters of the Universe documentary for Netflix? Shit.
Jodorowsky's Barbie. That'd be good.
Hey man, I'd pay money for that.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Jodorowsky's fucking Apple Bottom. There you go, Ravenchannel.
Yeah.
My Little Pony.
Jodorowsky's Hungry Hungry Hippos.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
What I was going to say though is that while we don't have the flying cars yet, and the sci-fi, there was some era of science fiction that maybe would set in a present day, but it changed certain small technologies or how the human condition.
Right. Absolutely.
Like Fahrenheit, 451 or things like
451.
But well, what's interesting is like you look at for example, like Soylent Green about the issues in the 70s. And I remember when books came out, there was like this guy, Alvin Toffler, who wrote a book about, I think it was The Wave. And then there was like a lot of people that were speculators, they called them at the time. They were talking about trends and things that could potentially come to be in the future. And like with Soylent Green, talking about overpopulation and all the people living out in the streets. And you're seeing now with increased rents and with COVID and people getting the bums rush now because of, not being able to pay their rents and everything. And I think, what was it in the United States? Was it yesterday where they were stopping the handing out the COVID, what do you call it, the assistance plan or something?
Oh, the unemployment benefits. The unemployment benefits.
Yeah.
The benefits, the COVID benefits, and they were and then they were actually also giving people a certain amount of time for rent waivers for back rents and stuff like that. Like, I mean, no, what I'm trying to say is it's interesting now how, like I say, the things that you never thought would be prophetic are pretty prophetic. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It is kind of crazy how much, a lot of those disaster films, I guess, or even just like what you'd consider, like horrifying, and now we're kind of living through it. And as we've talked about in like the past several weeks or months, the idiot plot in a horror film, we can no longer ever argue against that because we see it on a fucking daily basis, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
People
I'm an American.
Perfect example right here.
My basement, my rights. Motherfucker, there is a demon down there, son. Don't go fucking down.
Yeah.
I paid him more.
In general, people are generally stupid, and they'll do they'll make the worst possible decisions and make things substantially worse.
Well, it's like my mother was saying to me. She said, I don't know how far people can go in terms of being stupid. I said, well, if you can tell me where the universe ends, I said, then you'll find the end of stupidity.
It's true, yeah. Yeah, it's fucking crazy, man.
No?
All right, well, I want to, before we get too carried away, I want to touch base on what you've been up to, Tim. And I know you're still doing the See Here podcast.
We're still doing See Here. Proudly, almost 6.5 years, 7 years now, almost.
Good for you, man. That's fucking awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys...
It's incredible because when we started, we never thought that we thought we'd run out of music movies.
Yeah.
But I mean, this generation, man, like this is the salad day of the music documentary. I mean, it used to be in the past where you weren't a band unless you had a logo and a T-shirt. Now it's like you're not a band until you get your documentary.
Yeah, it's true. Or get featured in Woodstock 99.
Right. Well, like we have yet to still cover that, but you guys saw that one that just came out, right?
Yeah.
The Woodstock 99.
I think most of us saw, or some of us did. Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet.
Did you see it, Tim?
I have not seen it.
Oh, okay. The Ravenchannel, did you? I thought you saw it, right?
Yeah, I did. I watched up until the Olympus gets set when they were surfing on the fucking doors.
Yeah, on the soundboards, basically. Yeah.
I had to go to bed. Couldn't deal with Durst any longer. But
wait a second, crowd surfing on the doors? Those guys are old. They can't handle that. Should not be standing on those guys.
Bobby Krieger was like, "Help me!"
Exactly. No, I mean, basically to me, Woodstock '99 should have just been surrounded with barbed wire and napalm strafed. I mean, it was just, they had a huge deposit of testosterone there. They had about half the testosterone output of the United States in one area, and they could have just eliminated it just right there and then.
Would have created so many less problems than we have now.
The brow apocalypse.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like if somewhere in a room, it'd be like they're all there.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
yep. Exactly.
Like, but sir, Fred Durst is there. We can't let this jewel of an American die. We can't do this.
But you know what's interesting is a crossover to what you guys are all about. Is I don't know if you've seen the lineup for Fantastic Fest this year in Austin.
Saw some of it. It's looking good.
There's two documentaries, music documentaries actually. There's an official ICP documentary that's coming out, and there's also an official Guar documentary coming out. So I think again, like I said, you would never expect good film, and it's funny because I mean, regardless of what you think about your musical taste, there's a lot of films out there that really bring a new light to a lot of people.
Yeah, no, it's true, and I mean, I think you're right. Like that is kind of the calling card now. Like you screw music videos. You need to have a fucking documentary, or else you're nothing. Yeah,
right. But it just kind of cements the validity of what a lot of people are doing. Or else, if you have a shitty documentarian or a shitty filmmaker behind it, it doesn't do anything for you. But
just for the record, I think if they released that Guar documentary in physical media, and if you opened it up and it didn't stink, I'd be very disappointed.
Exactly, or something didn't spray at you. They need. They need to have like a little pressurized ketchup packet or something inside.
Just needs to be this overwhelming stink when you first open it.
Well, it needs to come with a white. It needs to come with a white T-shirt that you first put on, and then you can open it up and you get fucking sprayed with blood.
Well, you know what's really funny?
An indescribable piece of meat inside of it.
Yeah,
could have come from many.
And it's got to fester, hence the stink. Yeah. But it's funny now looking back how I saw Guar in '89 the first time they came to Toronto, and afterwards everybody was walking out on the street, and it just looked like basically we'd been inside a blender, and and to try to get on a streetcar or to get on a bus, and just have people stare at you like what the hell were you in a giant vat of tomatoes? What were you making, spaghetti sauce or something like? What the shit, man? Like, what are you making, wine? Just to explain that the first time, or to try to tell people what you just witnessed, and it's like you paid $15 to have some guy with a fake phallus basically empty his contents into your face. Yeah, I did.
It's probably worse. Like having
there's just you can just look at people and just go Guar, and they're either going to get it or they're not, and that's it.
Yeah, right. That's how I thought. That's how I always thought of it. That's the way it should be. Guar.
Right.
That explains everything.
But then when I look back at what my parents thought Kiss was all about, when I was so enamored with Kiss as a kid, and then I look back at Kiss now, I'm just going, oh, dude, oh man, it's like You guys kind of lit the fire, man, but it's just like these guys poured the gasoline.
Yeah. Oh man. So people should go check out the See Here podcast. Looks like you guys most recently did Songwriter, huh? Is that the last?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the next episode we're about to do, and I highly encourage everyone to watch this because it's available on YouTube. We're going to do an animated film from Canada, actually, this classic gem from the 80s called Rock and Rule.
Oh, nice.
I don't know if you guys have ever seen that.
I've never seen it. I've heard of it, though.
It's an amazing, it's kind of like the Faust story, basically. The deal with the devil.
Yeah.
But it's almost like I'd say it's almost like a PG heavy metal kind of.
Okay. Yeah. No, that sounds awesome. So I'm checking it out
but
right now.
You can find it though on YouTube. It's called Rock and Roll.
Nice. On the poster, Ravenchannel, get this. It says original songs by Cheap Trick, Earth, Wind and Fire, Debbie Harry, Lou Reed, Iggy Pop.
Oh shit.
Ravenchannel, you gotta check that out.
Got me a fucking Debbie Harry and Iggy Pop, dude.
Yeah. It's it looks pretty fucking outstanding. I gotta check this out.
Dope.
Rock and Roll. You said it's on YouTube, Tim?
Yep.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Rock and Drool.
It was a big one for Canadians when we were kids. They used to play it on CBC a lot.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, that sounds cool. I'll have to check that out. Before we run out of some time in the intro, I want to talk a little bit about Fantasia, because that's a big deal. I know, Tim, you've been attending Fantasia forever, right? Or at least, I mean, you go.
I've been trying.
Way
I go back with Fantasia, yeah, and and I've been catching it for the last couple of years and participating in it. I've been involved with the Fantasia Film Festival for the last couple of years, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it's one of the destination film fests, especially for genre cinema. It's like,
oh yeah, it's Mecca.
Yeah, it totally is. And for me, this is the first. I probably could have looked into it last year. I didn't even think about it, but since travel, getting a ticket up there and everything and getting the time off, it's difficult. So I've never been able to go to something like a Fantasia or a TIFF or a Fantastic Fest. But these are like you said, like the Mecca. And so I've always wanted to go to Fantasia so much. And so this year we were able to get accreditation, which was like so awesome. And because it's this kind of hybrid virtual and in person, I still was able to experience some of it. So it's a really cool time. Obviously, I would much rather be in person if that were possible. But with the current state of affairs and the current state of events, it is kind of cool that they are doing this virtual screening. And there's a lot of really great stuff from all over the world. And like we've been doing films lately, from all over. We did like, let's see, a film from Thailand, a film from Tunisia,
Uruguay.
Argentina. Yeah, like we've been doing films from all over.
Not Argentina.
Yeah, not Argentina, Ravenchannel. So we've been doing films from all over the world lately, and there's some really amazing cinema. As we've been doing films from other countries for a while, but it just seems like recently we've done a lot. And man, there's just so much great cinema out there that a lot of times just doesn't get the press because it's not a big name or doesn't have like a lot of money behind it. But man, the lineup that Fantasia had this year was outstanding. Do you want to talk a little bit about the lineup, Tim?
Sure. Well, the online process of it all, I kind of look at it in two ways. Okay. The first way that I look at it is it was advantageous in the sense that, it was geo-locked for people outside of Canada, which was unfortunate. But for a lot of people that have never been to Montreal, or, like in the past, I would say to friends of mine in Toronto, hey, we got to get a car and go to Fantasia. Well, we have to pay for gas. We'll have to get a motel. It's so expensive. And then tickets will be sold out. And I'm just like, now it's online. There's no excuse.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up.
Exactly.
It's coming to you. It's coming to you. Right. There's no reason that you can't spend $8 to see a feature. Right. And that's a great thing because it's getting these films out there directly to people. The other side of it is, the negative side is that when you have a premiere of a film, you want to be the only place that you can see this thing.
Yeah.
You want to have one time. It's like, why everybody's still getting jacked about Joe Bob and his drive-in show is because you have to be there at that time to see it. And if you miss it, you miss it. You're not there being in an audience with, a full theater of screaming freaks. And people just completely feeling the same feeling, there's that. So, I mean, unfortunately, there was a lot of films I saw this year that I would have loved to see on the big screen.
Yeah.
And it really kind of pissed me off that, these films didn't get their due deserve, But unfortunately, they did a little bit of screening in Montreal this year. They screened Suicide Squad for the opening.
Yeah, I saw that.
And they also screened The Sadness, which I'll get into.
Yeah, that's one I cannot wait for, The Sadness. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So just to get into a couple of things that I saw that really blew my mind. Here's another thing too that it's kind of hard with a festival, or any festival for that matter, is that a lot of films, because of popularity and because of people recognizing how great they are, they get picked up either by Shudder or they'll get picked up in other avenues, you know. So I'm always trying to see the things that I'm thinking, this is never going to get recognized, or this is never going to get picked up. I mean, like, I have to watch it now or I might not be able to see it at all.
Yeah.
And, you know, whereas everybody else is going for the names or the films that kind of get the, you know, the clout, I'm always kind of like, well, chances are I'm probably going to get to see this again because it's getting word, you know, so you know, you're going to have multiple chances to get back to view this thing. Whereas some things are more kind of under the radar. And that's what I'm always trying to find is the things that are kind of like, you know, not getting so much notoriety.
Yeah, and I did see a bunch of press releases of films that got picked up by like Shudder and others. Like either right before, during, or just after. And so and you're right. I mean, nowadays with a lot of film festivals being virtual still, you still need to get that exclusive. Like, you know, people want to get that exclusive film, like first time playing in this country or first showing ever. And, you know, it's a lot harder to get those kinds of things, I would imagine. There's a lot more competition now. So I imagine that, you know, obviously there's the destination festivals like Fantasia and Fantastic and TIFF and, you know, and others like that probably have no problem. But some of the smaller ones may try to get some of those and then they lock them up and then another one can't have the, you know, the North American debut or whatever. So, yeah, it's kind of a, I don't want to call it cutthroat, but it is a lot of competition in that sense, you know. And you know, our buddy Professor J does the Charlotte Film Festival, and you know, obviously they're a lot smaller than like Fantasia or TIFF, but you know, they still get some pretty cool stuff down there as well. And I think they've got some some first time films playing down there occasionally. Right.
I guess I want to start off by saying one of the things I saw that I really loved was Keila Janice's new documentary.
Oh, yeah.
The Woodlands Dark and Days Bewitched. It was a 3-hour folk horror documentary. And this thing, she does not miss anything. This is so exhaustive. And I don't mean tiring. I mean just like it's immense what she's done with this. And it's not just a focus on British folk horror. It goes through, you know, South America. It goes to Mexico. It goes to many different areas, the southern United States. But it's really an examination of, you know, like I say, the mythologies of regions and how they come to play. And it's not just about, you know, Blood on Satan's Claw, which is a big film for England, or The Wicker Man. It goes into every little pocket, like I say, and it's almost like I could have seen this being almost like a series. Yeah. Because breaking it down into regions and the mythologies of regions, and it was just amazing. It was incredible. And I mean, like, this is a triumph for her. And I'm so happy to see her getting this out into so many different festivals.
Yeah. In that box set, was it Severin, I believe?
Oh, that Severin box. Holy shit.
Man. Yeah. Like I saw that come across. It's fucking impressive.
Incredible. Yeah. Another one that blew my mind in a film that was 30 years in the making was Phil Tippett's Mad God.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to see that, but I'm really anxious.
Lord, man. This guy, you know, stop motion legend who'd worked on the Star Wars film, the RoboCop. Yep. He'd worked in Battlefield Earth, not Battlefield Earth, Verhoeven's Starship Troopers, sorry. Yeah. But, you know, this was his kind of pet project that he kept in the can for so many years. And this is incredible. Like, it's an incredible testament to stop motion animation. And, you know, what really pisses me off with this thing is that there's going to be some younger people, and I'm not trying to be ageist here. They're going to look at this and just go, that's just the Tool video.
Yeah.
And it's just like, no. This guy was doing this 30 years ago, long before Adam Jones was doing the work that Tool did. And I mean, Phil Tippett, you know, it's incredible how he would use, like, I can't even go into words. You just have to see the trailer for Mad God to get the idea of, like, you know, animation with, like, tendons and gristle, cat hair, vacuum dust, and snot. Like, it's just, like, he just created this whole world that's like Hieronymus Bosch on steroids. And it's just unreal. And if there's any fault with the film, there's so much to comprehend with it. It's just so overwhelming that on almost 2 hours, you're just drained. And like the best way I can recommend this is I said to friends of mine, I said, if we're still here in 100 years, there's going to be uni kids sitting in their dorm somewhere smoking pot and watching this thing. Because this was incredible. What else did I see? There was
yeah. I just wanted to mention real quick that Mad God won an award as well. It won my French is not good at all, so it basically translates to the Fantastic Screen Award as one of I think it's a standout genre film. So
right, and he was given a Lifetime Achievement Award as well.
That's awesome. The dude's fucking genius. So I highly recommend, like, for your audience, man, I'm telling you right now, for anyone who's not on it, get on the trailer for Mad God. As soon as that thing hits, I mean, when he puts that out in 4K, it's going to be just, it's going to, this is like, I had a feeling, like, and I'm not blowing smoke. It was almost like, the feeling I had when I saw 2001 for the first time. Wow.
Just so immersive in a world. Like, it was just unreal. Couple of other quick ones that blew my mind. Alien on Stage.
Okay. Yep.
Alien on Stage was an amazing documentary about a theatrical group in England who actually tried to put the original Alien film on stage as a presentation. Yeah. And I love this, man. This was a blast because this whole thing could have been like a Christopher Guest film where the whole thing was about taking the piss and watching them stumble through this thing and making fools of themselves. But through the magic of motion pictures and duct tape, man, these people pull it off, and it's absolute magic. And they actually wound up, no spoiler, they wound up on the West End of London in the theater district, and they get one night on a big stage, and they do it proper, and it's amazing.
Yeah. Go ahead, Ravenchannel. Yeah, MZ. That's the one you posted, right? Didn't you post some footage from that play?
No, well, the one that I watched was a group of high school kids. This was in America. This wasn't over in England.
Okay.
This is a different one.
Different one. Okay.
Yeah. This was. I don't know if this version that I saw came out before or after the one that you're talking about. But
right.
It was amazing because Sigourney Weaver shows up on stage.
Oh,
wow. and she's there to witness this thing. When the news broke on this, she went over to the high school and watched a special performance, and it's on YouTube. And oh my god! I mean, they take a couple of special liberties to, like, I don't know what, for whatever reason, to liven it up or to make it somewhat current for today's youth, which I think is kind of silly. But what the hell? Look what they're doing. I mean, the production value of this thing is pretty incredible. I strongly suggest. I mean, I want to check out this documentary, but I strongly suggest you hunt this thing down. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So well done.
Mm-hmm. Another one I want to highly recommend too is there's a Japanese film that's going to get a lot of press, and it already has, and it's called The Infinite 2 Minutes. Mm-hmm. And you guys have to see this film. And it's basically about this guy, and no spoiler, but it's about a guy who runs a restaurant, and he lives upstairs from his restaurant. And one night he shuts the restaurant down. He goes upstairs and he turns on a CCTV to monitor his restaurant. And suddenly he's on the monitor and he's talking to himself going, "Hey man, I'm 2 minutes in the future. I'm downstairs. You got to come downstairs. That's amazing." So he winds up going downstairs and he finds out that he's got a wormhole in time between the upstairs and the downstairs in his restaurant. And they actually take this and they take the whole set. All it is just the restaurant and the upstairs. And for 90 minutes, they go into these different ways that he fucks with time and plays with time. And then his friends come over to the restaurant, and then it gets really convoluted. But the whole thing about this film, it's a straight edit right from the beginning of the film to the end for 90 minutes. It's one complete edit.
That's impressive. Yeah, I have heard some really good things about that. It did also win the special jury mention.
Right.
Just want to read. This is a quick thing. It's probably doesn't give anything away, but it says received a special jury award for outstanding achievement in filmmaking, remarkable in both its mind-bending concept and its expert execution. The whole jury marveled at the sheer cinematic brilliance of this magnificent contribution to the time travel genre.
Right. Well, the film actually really pissed me off in one regard, not for what it did, but, well, the fact is they got so much mileage out of one set, and the way that they so geniusly wove in all the concept of time travel and just the way they played with it in one set, and the budget was so low. And then you get an asshole who comes out with something like Tenet, this big, giant, bloated, windbag of a film that's $1 trillion more budget than what these people did. And these people did it far more effectively and far more simply. I mean, it blows my mind where, it's like, oh, you have to throw $300 million at a film. Yeah, it's good. Why? Because it was $300 million. Bullshit.
Yeah. It doesn't make a film good.
No, not at all. What else did I say? Oh, The Spine of the Night was another film. I think you dig that, Ravenchannel. Spine of the Night was amazing. And it was actually a rotoscoped 2D animated film that was kind of going back to almost like Fire and Ice, like Ralph Bakshi.
Yo.
And yeah, man, like it was really on point. And actually, some of the guys, a couple of the guys who worked on Love, Sex, and Robots, that Netflix series, they were involved in this, and that was a blast, man. And that's coming out too, so that's going to be something. Nice. It's Spine of the Night, man. And it's funny because the voiceovers are what was his name? Ratatouille comedian.
Patton Oswalt.
Patton Oswalt, yeah. Patton Oswalt does voiceovers in it, and there's a number of voiceovers in that. But I really, really enjoyed that. And then, the thing is, too, like with Fantasia, like Jesse was saying, the lineup this year and the lineup every year is just incredible. It's stellar because they always go out of their way. I don't care who you are. You can't tell me there's not one film that you don't want to see because there's always something for everybody. There's something for it's not just like when you think of Fantasia, some people think of just extremities and all the fringe and the transgressive cinema and all of that. Yeah, well, that's an aspect of it. But there's also a lot of family fare. There's a lot of animated stuff for kids. There's comedies. There's a lot of lighthearted romances. There's a lot of Japanese, anime and nikatsu. Like there's all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, one thing I just wanted to mention real quick, Ravenchannel, The Spine of Night will be coming. Says it's going to hit theaters in late 2021, and in 2022 it'll hit Shudder. So it's like a fantasy horror film that's animated. So maybe something we could take a look at when that hits Shudder.
Yeah, I know. I like fantasies.
You don't like cartoons because you're a fucking adult.
I think you'll dig this, man. Really, I will.
Fucking Tim saying that, I'm with that. I'll watch that.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, man, you'll dig it. That and Mad God, I think you'll love it. And there was another Japanese animated film as well called Junkhead that's unreal that I saw.
Junkhead's
unreal, man. Like Junkhead was another film that was it was a shorter film. I think it was done in 2017, and then they went back and redid it for a feature length. But Junkhead's unreal too. I mean, you can find the trailers for that. I'll post some trailers for some things with the episodes, so you'll get a feeling for some things. I didn't see the Montreal screening of The Sadness, but I did get to see it. And I don't know how much you guys have heard about this. And I think this is something that's going to be totally up MZ's alley.
Oh, yes. I know a pretty good amount about it. I haven't seen it, unfortunately, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think that one was geo-locked. But yeah. So I wasn't able to catch that. But
they didn't even have a screening for it online.
Oh, okay.
But they had press. But
yeah. But yeah, that's one that I definitely am gonna to check out. And MZ, I'm sure will love it.
Well, MZ, you remember the good old days of watching things for the first time when you felt like you had those paper cuts on your nuts and you're dipping them in iodine? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
You mean
no, man, like this is going back to almost like the feeling of like early Category 3 stuff.
Wow.
Like going back to like I'm talking Full Throttle, like stuff that isn't being done anymore. And
philosophy of the knife.
And it's all practical too. It's all practical too.
Am I the only one that's so scared of what they're fucking talking about right now?
do you? Yeah. Well, you don't know what Cat 3 is. I don't think Ravenchannel.
Yeah. Films like Philosophy of a Knife or Man Behind the Sun. Really hard.
Run and Kill, Red and Kill. The Ebola syndrome. Bunman. Yeah, like the Hong Kong nasties from the 90s and late 80s. But this film, man, like it starts off mildly enough, with a guy and his girlfriend going to work and them getting separated in a city. And then when it gets on the subway, it just goes full fucking bore right through. And it's, I don't want to give away too much, but like I say, it's all practical effects. And it if you can imagine, almost like David Cronenberg's They Came From Within, mixed with 28 Days Later, mixed with Anthony Wong. Like it's and there were, and I can see a lot of people that are, like this was the only film that they ever screened for Fantasia that had a trigger warning, that they started off film and just said, look, this is going to put some people in a bad way. And it's full on, man. And you got to, and what blows my mind is the fact that it was made in Taiwan. And right now, I don't know if you guys had heard the news recently, but with what's going on in a lot of Asia with China now, they've cracked down and they're basically, the government is the censor board for Hong Kong now.
Oh, I didn't hear that. That sucks.
That just happened in the last month and a half, where everything has to go through the government now in terms of motion pictures in Hong Kong. So, it's going to get to a point, no joke, where in the future, when, parents are pointing out to their kids, all the magic of the Shaw brothers and all the films of John Woo and everything else that it came in the past, kids are not going to believe that it came from the country that they were born in. Because they're just going to, here? That happened?
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah, that happened. Well, how come it's not happening now? Well, ask the government. It's just unfortunate, but but like I'm saying, with the sadness, it really feels like a film of a bygone era. And that's not to say that it's dated, but it's just that they ain't making films like this anymore. It's just, wow.
Yeah. MZ, you'll like this quote. Rocco Thompson from Rue Morgue said, it's the most violent and depraved zombie movie ever made.
I love it already.
And it's no joke. That's no joke, man. I mean, I'm not,
It looks like I didn't see this, but it looks like Raven Banner picked up the worldwide.
Yeah, Raven Banner's going to do the distribution. They're working out right now. Yeah. But this thing again, like I was saying about how, you're worried about missing screenings because of, things you're thinking, will get picked up or won't get picked up. I knew it was going to get picked up from day one.
Yeah.
I knew. It's just, there's no way. Yeah. But, there was, and the other thing is too, one thing I like about Fantasia is that they go back and they do retro screenings too, because they did Uzumaki, which was another old, amazing, Japanese film that was actually based on a manga of Junji Ito.
Yep.
And that was a lot of fun. And I mean, I own it, but I wanted to watch it again. And it was just great that they go out of their way. And a couple of, I think it was either last year or the year before, Fantasia did a theatrical screening of one of our all-time favorites around here, The Boxer's Omen.
Oh, shit.
And, man, to me, it is still a goddamn crime that film does not have a Blu-ray release.
That's nuts. Someone must be holding out or something, because there's so many boutique companies that would probably kill for that.
Well, the problem is, apparently, from what I've been told from a source and someone who really knows all of the Shaw's titles were spread throughout different owners.
Yeah.
There's not just one select individual who owns all the rights to the Shaw's films.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are owned now by lawyers, because a lot of things went into receivership and there was a lot of things broken down and liquidated. So there's a lot of things that are out there in the ether. And now it's almost like a detective story where a lot of these boutique labels have to go and do their legwork and try to find out who owns what and how to get the paperwork. Because there's a lot of old Category 3 stuff, a lot of old obscure Hong Kong stuff, like, for example, Seeding of a Ghost, or there's The Imp, and there's a couple of other really obscure titles that have, these labels have put them out. But there's still a lot out there that are just in the ether.
Yeah, I did see, I don't remember what company it was, but I saw there's a Shaw Brothers box set going to be coming out, and it was a bunch of...
Oh, that's the Arrow. The Arrow one is coming out. Yeah, Christmas time. Yeah, I saw that. And that's just volume 1.
Right. And it was a lot of kind of like disparate films. Like it didn't seem like it like... So you're right. I think that because of that, like no one has like a whole lot of them. Obviously, Arrow was able to get the rights to some of them, which is great because I know that they'll put them out and do right by the Shaw Brothers films. But yeah, it would be nice if the collection, if all of the films were collected under one umbrella.
Right. Yeah, it's just unfortunate the way it is.
Yeah.
But I mean, but going back to the festival, just for a brief second, I just wanted to say that I highly recommend to anyone, once all this COVID shit clears, when it does, to hightail it up to Montreal, even for a weekend if you can, because you'll have the time of a lifetime. I mean, like really, like, people up there, and it's like, when you're home, when you're amongst your tribe,
Yeah.
And you really feel that. You really do with Fantasia. I mean, like, I can't speak for other festivals, but I know absolutely 100%, it's just, and what's funny too, is like celebrities will, walk through, directors will walk through and just shoot the shit with people in front of the theater. Mm-hmm. And that's what they want to do. They don't, cordon people off and hide people away. And it's not like there's a backstage. There's reception areas, sure, but I mean, it's just that whole thing about where it's all laid out in the open, and it's just like, they're there to receive their fans, whatever, and yeah.
Yeah, it was, I can't say enough good things about the way it was run, and I imagine it's exceptionally difficult to run a kind of hybrid festival like that, but we got all the information, we had access to a bunch of films, and even having the setup they had with the Gather Town was also really cool. I bumped into you on that. I was like,
right.
Yeah.
Right.
I think you messaged me like as I stepped away, and I came back and I was like, oh shit, I missed him.
Yeah.
So it's like we bumped into each other,
Right. And the funny thing is too, and this is a great thing that's amazing about Fantasia, is that, like for you guys, there's other film festivals, like, for example, Cannes or bigger end film festivals, or like Sundance, where you have to prove, you've done this or done that or whatever, or they look at the upper tier of journalists or, media outlets. But with Fantasia, it's like, you can apply and just say, yeah, I've got this fanzine. All right, fair enough.
Yep.
You're like, what? Yeah, like, come on in. Like, they'll treat everybody the same. Because, like I say, it's like your home. It's not just like, people looking down on others. Like, no, there's none of that in any way, shape, or form, as it should be.
Yeah. So it was a really great run. Everything was like super top notch, and yeah, I can't say enough good things. Hopefully, be able to attend in person at some point in time. But at the very least, if there's another hybrid, I would love to be able to attend.
Right.
And yeah, it was really awesome.
One thing I want to say too, though, for people that, have never had a chance to experience Fantasia, the festival's over now for 2021, but the website still stands, and you can still go in and look at the programming. So you're going to basically write down some things that are interesting to you. And like I say, you're going to see that they're going to get picked up, or they already have been picked up.
Yeah.
And that's what I used to do for the years that I wasn't able to get to Fantasia because I was in Korea, is that it was almost like, a catalog when the festival ended, I just basically go through, all their programming and just check off all the films that I'd want to see or I know would show in the film festival in Korea or I know would get picked up. So that's a good thing to do as well. It's not just like it's over, they're gone, like you're never going to have a chance. It's something to look into.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's one thing that when trying to pick out the films for the year, I would do in the past. I'd go to Fantasia's website and look and see what were they playing, because that's probably a lot of that is what we want to program for the show in the upcoming year. So,
right.
Yeah, and it was great to get kind of a more behind the scenes look and be able to see some of the flicks too. So yeah, it was really awesome. And you're right about that, Tim. There's it's a great resource. So
there was, what was it, Hellbenders?
Yeah.
Another quick one.
That got
Glass House. Glass House is another good one. There was a number of really, really solid, and also the shorts. I don't know where this is ever going to be shown, but in the future, keep your eye out. There's a short called Fruit, and the only way I can explain it, it's CGI fruit, an orgy, and Quentin Tarantino.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it's fruit, CGI fruit, an orgy, and Quentin Tarantino on the set of Kill Bill.
That sounds like the start of a fucking joke.
Yeah, but it's just called Fruit.
Fruit, yeah.
Because you might be at a festival of short films, or they might throw on a short before something. That's the only way you're probably going to see it. But when you see it, you'll know that you've seen something.
It's kind of a callback to Police Academy 2, where those fruits were drunk at the bar. No, the recruits. The recruits were drunk at the bar.
There you go. So, well, there's a kind of a little glimpse into Fantasia. We'll probably be talking about it some more over the weeks, but we appreciate your insight, Tim, because I know you got to see a lot more of it than I did. And as someone who's been, following the fest, attending the fest for many, many years, definitely wanted to get your perspective on things. So appreciate you taking some time to chat about that.
Man. My pleasure. I just get to hang out with my family, my tribe.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. It's awesome. Like, I don't know how long it's been. It's been a few years, but we can't wait. We can't wait a few years again. I think last time we had you, actually, I think you were on once when you moved back to Canada, if I remember correctly. But before that, it was when you were in Korea.
Oh, yeah. I think I remember, what was it, the film called Holidays?
Yeah.
That's what I remember.
Yeah. Well, hopefully the film we're about to talk about is a little bit better than Holidays, but there were some decent ones in there, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, well, we're going to kind of transition here. We're going to take a quick break in just a moment. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about the film The Empty Man. I'm curious to talk about this, and but before we do that, we'll quickly run down all the ways you can help support the show. You guys can head over to our Patreon, patreon.com/trickortreatradio, and there you can go ahead, sign up, and get access to all the stuff that we have. There's the Masterpiece Movie Theater we just did. That was fun, right? You guys have fun? MZ took time out of his vacation to attend the Masterpiece Theater.
Oh, I love that before you came on, Johnny, when MZ was like, just so you know, I have an hour.
Yeah.
Go. Even though it's my segment, I'm gonna go.
Yeah, that was but he did take time out of his vacation. He was in Maine and he took time to do it. So we got to get a Masterpiece Theater in, and we talked about the film Wolf Guy, which was fucking cool. So
Sonny.
Yeah, did a Sonny Chiba in honor of the man's passing. So it was fun talking about Wolf Guy with some of our Patreon supporters. So give that a look. Check out patreon.com/trickortreatradio. And the other ways you can help support are to go to trickortreatradio.com. Scroll down, look for the Amazon logo, click it. It's going to bring in Amazon. It's going to input our affiliate link. Everything they purchase in that session, Raven Shadow, gets attributed to us, but doesn't cost them any extra, but
you kind of fucking me a little bit, but it helps.
I'm trying to rush it, and I did fuck it up. So there you go. Raven Shadow got his little piece in. And then also we have the greatest hits of Trick or Treat Radio Volumes 1 through 3 available on trickortreatradio.com. Click on Store, and you can go ahead and purchase those. and give those a listen. You can hear highlights from the previous 9 years plus of doing the show. All right, so we're going to head to a break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about The Empty Man. We're going to take a 2-minute break in just a moment here, Tim, so if you need to step away, feel free to do that. And Ravenchannel, when you were getting ready to watch The Empty Man, what did you do to prepare for this movie? Over 2 hours.
Oh, fuck. Well, I had a fucking eye appointment, Johnny. So I left.
Okay.
I left work at 10:30 today to go for my 11:15. Didn't get seen until 12:45. So I had a field sobriety test. No, sorry. No, it's a field vision test.
Field sobriety test.
It wasn't a field sobriety test. It was a field vision test. So it's cool. They have new white eye patches now, which I didn't know they had that. So I felt kind of like, speaking of Kill Bill. So that was exciting.
Well, you're not supposed to wear white after Labor Day, Ravenchannel.
Well, it's true. Well, the little kid gave me that one. I don't know. So I wore that, and then I'm like, you know what? I'm kind of on Route 9. I'm kind of near Westboro. Where'd MZ go last week? I'm gonna go to the Hollywood Salvage Yard.
Oh, you went to the Macho Man Randy Salvage Yard.
Yeah, Macho Man Randy Salvage. Yeah. So I went there because of Monster Zero. I told them, like, Monster Zero sent me, and they were like, who? But then I said, oh, well, no, a buddy of mine, also another guy that told him bought a chess set. Oh, we know him. We know Tiny. So that was very exciting. I didn't quite find what I was looking for, but it was cool. So I went there because of UMZ. And
what were you looking for?
I can't say it because that person may be listening.
Oh.
Because there are a couple of events coming up next couple of days. You understand?
You're shopping for a gift.
Thank you, Aries. Yes.
Well, Jesus Christ.
Okay.
All right. Well, so I didn't find out what it was.
How cryptic of you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Hey.
And so I left there, and I'm like, you know what? Hey, I guess I got a flu shot. Got a flu shot. That was nice. Get it early.
You're like, what the fuck? I'll get a flu shot.
Yeah. Oh, the CVS. They do that. So I get that. And I call Republic Trash to get my voucher. I mean, I'm sharing too much. So I guess what I say, from Korea, now he's in Canada. Anyway, he's still that dude. And we're going to talk some films, so you better believe. Strapped on.
The following message is a paid advertisement for The Cult of Muscle podcast. The Cult of Muscle. You're either in it or you're dead.
It's the dawning of a new age. The halls of Valhalla have been shuttered. The heroes of yore have either retreated to the shadows or taken to capering for the amusement of the small folk. Their past glories a distant memory. The barbells have been torn from their once puma-strong grips. The beards shorn from their square jaws, only to be transplanted onto flannel-clad, puny weaklings with fingers barely powerful enough to strum a ukulele. The time has come, my brothers, to restore order from the chaos. No longer will our heroes be forgotten. No longer will their great deeds be viewed through a foggy lens of irony. Hear now our rallying cry as we scream it from the mountaintops, as we bellow it from iTunes and Libsyn and Facebook. It's time to join the cult, my brothers. So don your cloaks and enter the Cult of Muscle.
I'm Alex West.
And I'm Andrea Subasati, and we're from the Faculty of Horror podcast.
And you're listening to Trick or Treat Radio.
Oh, delicious nerds. Ms. M knows you like to chat it up with other sexy shut-ins about comics, movies, video games, and your favorite TV shows. If that sounds like you, cuddle up to the Trick or Treat Radio Facebook group, or the FIB. That stands for Fan Interaction Board. Just go to Facebook and search for Trick or Treat Radio and have more fun than a Jedi at a lightsaber sale. Not enough? Watch us on YouTube, The Deadites TV, all one word. Last but not least, check out the world's most dangerous talk radio show, Trick or Treat Radio, at trickortreatradio.com.
I'm Mike Allred. For the gidgiest listening experience, you got to check out Trick or Treat Radio.
All right, we're back on Trick or Treat Radio. And we're going to talk about our featured film, and that is The Empty Man. This film got a release in 2020, a very limited theatrical release, or a very short theatrical release, I should say. It is rated R. It is 2 hours and 17 minutes. The film is a horror mystery thriller written and directed by David Pryor, and it's very loosely based on the Boom Studios comic book of the same name. And the film stars James Badge Dale, Marin Ireland, Sasha Frolova, Samantha Logan, Virginia Cull, Robert Aramayo, and Ron Canada. The synopsis: on the trail of a missing girl, an ex-cop comes across a secretive group attempting to summon a terrifying supernatural entity. All right, so The Empty Man. This was an interesting one, because we typically don't do theatrical releases. We occasionally do it, but this one was kind of like dumped out in theaters on October 23rd, 2020. It flopped. It made $4.2 million total box office, which, during a pandemic, maybe that's not entirely terrible, but it definitely didn't even come close to its budget, which was $16 million. And this film also has the distinction of being the last film made by 20th Century Fox. So this film was started in, I think it was greenlit in 2014, and it went into production in 2016, if I'm remembering my dates correctly. So the film took about 4 years to get released from when it started, and there was a whole host of issues that kind of surrounded it. But as being the very last film produced by 20th Century Fox, they gave some decent money to a first-time director. $16 million. That's a pretty decent budget for a horror film. And the director, David Pryor, hadn't done anything before this. Prior to this, he had worked on mostly like kind of behind the scenes DVD documentaries. Like he worked with David Fincher on Fight Club, and he did a bunch of other sort of like behind the scene documentaries for DVDs and home video stuff. So it kind of cut his teeth on that, and apparently he got to get to know David Fincher fairly well, and he became a bit of a mentor to David Pryor. And David Pryor he wanted to be a director, and he saw himself getting kind of pigeonholed into this role, and he's like, no, I gotta try to step out of this and do what I really want to do, and that's make feature films. So, he was able to get this greenlit, which is amazing that he got this greenlit by 20th Century Fox. And then when 20th Century Fox was purchased by Disney, they took a look at all the films that they received that, had yet to be released. And they saw this and they're like, what the fuck do we do with this? What do we do with this fucking film? It's a high concept, sort of involved horror film that kind of is a creepypasta, but not really. So they didn't know how to market it. And they marketed it as a creepypasta, kind of like The Slender Man and like the Bye Bye Man and other films of that ilk. And because they targeted those audiences got something a little bit deeper than they expected, and they didn't like it, and that's why it fucking bombed. So it didn't find its audience in its theatrical run. But now I'm seeing that it's actually starting to find its audience. And I heard a lot of really good stuff about this, and I was really anxious to cover it because of that. So that's a big, long spiel, but Disney got this, and they saw the 2 hour, 17-minute cut, and they showed it to some focus group or test audiences, and they did not get high marks. So they cut it down to 90 minutes. And then that got even worse marks. And then they're like, all right, fuck it. We're just going to release your cut, 2 hours, 17 minutes. We'll just throw it out around Halloween, see how it does, market it towards, teens and fans of creepypasta type stuff. And There you go. There it is. So I don't know how it ended up on HBO Max. I suppose HBO just kind of picked it up aftermarket, but it's actually gotten a little bit of steam now, and people are talking about it. And people are saying this is a bit of a kind of a cult classic, or it could be a cult classic because of the way it was received upon release. So I blabbed a whole bunch about this. Ravenchannel, you missed the whole fucking story, so so there you go.
Fuck you.
Yeah, so fuck you.
And you know what? You threw out cult classic, and I love the fact that was mentioned, because this is, I think, the epitome of a modern cult classic. Because they weren't trying to make a cult film. They were trying to make a big budget movie, and it failed. Like, not for any fault of its own. It just failed, and it is now catching on, and that is what makes a great cult film. And I think this is.
Did we lose Aries? I missed the last thing you said. You said this is, and then it cut out.
Oh, the pinnacle of the last cult film.
Okay.
The pinnacle of the modern cult film.
Yeah. I kind of want to go around and get some kind of first impressions. Tim, as a man who's seen a ton of films, you love your cult cinema. Where do you see, and by cult, I guess I mean cult as in like a cult film, but also a film that includes a cult storyline in it.
Well, I don't know if you really want to know what I thought about this film.
Yeah, man, I want it. If you didn't like
it. Okay, it's like you've got a bowl of chili, okay, and it's really hitting the spot. And after an hour, that bowl of chili's gone, and then you start feeling it in your stomach, and then all of a sudden you get these really wet chili farts. That's after the first day. And then the second day, you get the screaming shits. And then the third day, you're basically clinging on to the bowl with both hands and praying to God for a colonoscopy, right?
See, the fact you didn't like that kind of commentary is what makes you the man.
No, this is the thing with this film, okay? It fucked with me. And I don't mean that in the sense of the whole whoa, man, I can't stop thinking about it. I mean I loved the first hour of this film. Mm-hmm. It was really exotic. It was really wow, man. And the funny thing in my mind is, wow, they're not going for a creepy pastor or some crazy detective story or some kids that are trying to, dredge up some specter or a rip off of the kill list or any of this. Wow, they're in a new locale and this is going to be really interesting. Nope.
And then they did
back to all that shit. And then they did all that, right? And then that pissed me off. It was just you weren't getting what you were sold. You know, I mean, it was kind of initially you're buying into this thing, and it's really, I'm kind of going, you really had me gripped for the first hour, and then they yanked the rug out, right? Now, the other thing that bothers me with this film, is that it was based on, like you said, a graphic novel, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, there's probably a lot of material there, and it's almost like they tried to basically cram an entire franchise into one film with this. To me, it seemed like they were just trying to cram every single. It's like this guy was kind of saying, well, I don't know if I'll be able to make another movie after this, so I'm going to get every fucking thing I got. I'm just going to put it all in there. It was just a huge blender drink, way too much as far as I'm concerned. But
one thing I read, I mean, I did, and I forget if Wolfie mentioned this,
or you don't know because you weren't here during the me setting the film up.
Well, before you try to bury me, I'm gonna tell you.
I'm not burying you. You weren't here.
I didn't have to be here. I know, Joe.
Go ahead.
I can hear you, but I saw the Boom Studios. It wasn't quite, they kind of tried to do the whole Marvel or even DCU intro where I'm like, oh, I know Boom Studios, and they're an independent comic company. So you get Marvel, DC, you get Image, Dark Horse, maybe Valiant.
Right.
And Boom is give or take, Boom, IDW. I think they have a lot of licensed properties. I think they do Bomb Girl or whatever it is. But they are an independent comic company. And from my understanding, from what I read, this was a very loose adaptation.
Yes, very loose. Yep.
Right. Okay.
Where the miniseries, I believe, was more in a post-apocalyptic world where you might have a little bit more of Mad Max type characters. But this took the director took this kind of property and then took things that he had previously was working on and kind of
his sort of the kind of stories he likes to tell, and he kind of blended them together. Yeah.
Because this movie was, you may have mentioned that in your beginning, Johnny, which you so audibly called me out on for not hearing. But
I audibly called you out because you literally weren't there to hear it.
If you don't want to be called out on something, then don't fucking do it. Be in the seat.
Butts and seats, Ravenchannel. Butts and seats.
Tim, I'm coming to Korea.
He's not there.
You're going to Canada? Go ahead. Go to fucking Canada.
He can go to Korea.
We opened our borders now, man. You're welcome, brother.
Yeah.
I'm coming.
You should go to Korea.
Yeah, better yet, go to Korea. Yeah, go to fucking Korea.
Yeah.
North. Go to North.
Yeah, Rocky's house.
North
And
Korea.
it'll always be. We have the fucking Just Tim team of America or international. Too many fucking Tims, I'll tell you that much.
Too many Tims.
But it was a loose adaptation of the property.
Right. But it just seemed to me like, I don't know, man. Like, it's just the feeling I got was that they were just trying to cram way too much into this film. Where it was just like, okay, he's going after the girl who the girl's gone, but then he's working with the cops, and then it's like this, and then it was like there's like aspects of Saw, there's like aspects of The Ring, there's aspects of this, aspects of Kill This, aspects of it. I don't know, like it just seemed to me like he was just opening up the sluice gate of shit and seeing what was going to stick to the wall.
And I don't,
you know what? I can agree with that. I think it is a lot going on, mainly because he didn't know like if this was going to catch on and whether he would be able to make a second movie.
Right.
And they were just like, okay, here's everything about this story, and he's like, holy shit, I got to get this all in.
Yeah.
And without knowing, without a guarantee of making a sequel, you want to try to get all your good ideas into one movie.
Right. But for most people, then they wouldn't let them get away with making the 6-hour movie if they had 6 hours of good ideas. So, you know what I mean?
But then it was
the
cut
problem
down
is
to
I
an hour
think
and a
he
half.
had.
I'd love to see the 90-minute version.
Yeah.
I think he had probably 6 hours worth of good ideas, and he had to cram it down into 2 hours, and it spilled over into 2 hours 15 minutes. That is the problem with this movie. There was so much good ideas crammed into a small package.
What this film would have really benefited from is becoming a Netflix series.
Agreed.
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure.
Yeah, like I could really see this benefited from being a series, like Crave or Hulu or whatever, because then, you get it in the bite-sized pieces. And that way too, I find it would resonate more as well. Because if you're leading up to something, and like I say, in bite-sized pieces, I think it would have been a lot more than just, swallowing it all in one fell swoop.
And that's fair because there were times where, like, I watched this Sumerian in 2 parts, and I'm like, are we doing the detective work in real time? Like, are we really doing 8 hours a day of detective work? Like, it just seemed like it's fucking going on and on. I felt my hair growing. During.
Well, let's we haven't heard too much from MZ, so I want to get MZ's kind of hot take on it real quick, and then we'll start discussing it in depth.
Oh, wow. Well, at first I'm saying to myself, Jesus, am I watching the right movie? Because for the first 22 minutes, you don't get the seismic shift. I mean, if you want to call it that, like you do in 2001: A Space Odyssey, but at the 22-minute mark, you get a completely different movie.
Yeah,
but the tone has.
Good.
But the tone has been set. Yeah, the tone has been set. And it's there's going to be a lot of quietness and chilling atmosphere going on in this movie that covers both pre and post title card. But it's an endeavor. That's for certain. It's quite an achievement of really bizarre filmmaking.
Yeah,
but we'll talk about more.
Yeah, I think I looked at the timestamp. I think it was 22:34 is when we saw the opening, like the title card. So we went.
Can you imagine if they ended it right there? They could have put that out as a short, and that would have been amazing.
Oh yeah, I was sold.
Right.
I was like, Christ, movie's over. Crap.
Yeah. Like that would have been an amazing short. Like, I mean, the way it was really atmospheric. It really, it was something different you'd never see before, and you didn't see it coming. What happens, and you're just going, oh shit, and that's it. And it's just him chanting, credits roll, and you're just going, wow, like that's cool.
Yeah,
like,
you're kind of left to sit there and soak that in.
Right.
But it's the way those final moments happen before that. I mean, there's some really sensational camera work. During this sequence. Really great camera work.
Well, for a $16 million budget, like you can see that. I think a lot of it went into the cinematography.
Yeah.
I would not just.
Yeah, I think that for me, this is an amazing looking film. This to me is such a film oddity for 2020 when it came out, and even 2021 to see a high concept horror film like this. This isn't the kind of thing you see nowadays. Like this is like let's see. I'm trying to think of like a good parallel. Like David Fincher through like the lens of like, I don't know, like
Nolan. I thought this was more like a Tenet horror
not
movie.
Nolan, but Fincher through the lens of like, let's say like an 80s like I don't know, like kind of In the Mouth of Madness or something something along the lines of that,
Yeah.
Or it reminded me of Kill List.
Yeah, and Kill List. Yeah, there was definitely some elements there.
Way.
Yeah. But
there's elements of Carpenter, Raimi, Kubrick, Onibaba. Not Onibaba. What am I saying? Damn it, I can't remember his name. I'll get to it. It's Cronenberg. I mean, there's a lot that this movie is referencing, and it's done just really, really well. Actually, I'll get that other director.
Now imagine if this had come out around the same time as the Blair Witch. I mean, no, I'm just saying like that idea of the mythology of things and about being in rural areas and the idea of not understanding what you're kind of uncovering or what you're exposing yourself to, and it just seemed to me like it was that same kind of thing. Yeah.
So that's a great point. I mean, I think the mythology this movie created works. Mm-hmm. Now it's a mythology we've seen in other films or in other air quotes mythologies. Yeah. Repetition. I mean, like Beetlejuice. Candyman. I mean, there's some Bloody Mare. Right?
Yeah.
And I think the gimmick was interesting enough to be a urban legend.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what they were playing on, that it was just kind of like, you've heard this before. You've heard this 100 times. And that is why it was just kind of disregarded.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that's a good point, because is there an element to this of like a creepypasta like kind of urban legend? Yeah, absolutely. Like I can see why Disney or whomever might have tried to market it that way. But but I think in a sense it kind of uses that as a framework, but has a much deeper backstory to it, as opposed to just this supernatural entity that just, you blow into the fucking bottle on a bridge and he shows up,
It's almost Lovecraftian in a way.
Yeah, there's definitely some cosmic stuff to it.
Yeah, and it's just an idea that, like, everybody always thinks Lovecraft and tentacles, and which pisses me off to no end. But it's just this thing about, that there's some things that you just don't have the ability to comprehend, or things that are just so abstract, or things that are just so, you can't see the link between A and Z. And once you finally do make that link, it's just so astronomically mind-shattering that, you lose your shit. That's what I think a lot of that is about in this film.
Yeah.
Well, because, as far as I know, this was completely made up. This wasn't based on folklore of anything. This is its own completely made-up story.
Sure.
And they kind of, although they have their rules, they are wrong. Like, because they're still trying to figure it out. If you pay attention, they have some of it figured out, but they are wrong too.
Right.
With certain things, because this is a new mythology. Like, they're still trying to iron it out as things are happening to them.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that's, for me, there was something kind of like romantic about it, because for me, I liked the way that this went deep, and it went into philosophy as well. It added, like, it wasn't just this surface horror movie urban legend where you're on a bridge and then you fucking blow into a bottle and then the empty man visits you. On the first night you hear him, on the second night you see him, on the third night he finds you. Like, it wasn't just this sort of superfluous, sort of on the surface thing. There's a much deeper meaning to it. And I can totally understand, Tim, when you say that after the first hour that it didn't work for you as well, and it kind of seemed like 10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag. I can totally see that. For me, this worked because I was along for the ride, and I was like, holy shit, this goes deep. Like, I love how it went into these conspiracy theories, and it went into this cult-like sort of, especially nowadays. That's something that's very prevalent now. It's very it's very much in our culture. These people, these cult-like sort of fucking like mindless people, and the empty man, is kind of an interesting concept on its all by itself. So for me, this had so many layers that I just was like a kid in a candy store at times,
Right. Not to give anything away with this, but there's two things that I did like. One element was where, in the beginning, the one character says, "If you touch me, you're gonna die."
Yeah.
So he's still kind of semi-aware of what's happening, and he even sheds a tear when he's up there on the bridge at the end. Like he's still like I'm sorry, I don't want to do this, and he's still, and it happens. What's going down? But the thing that got me though was that how it ends so abruptly, the first half of the film, and you're like, how is this going to play out? Like, how are they going to reel it back to these people that, they really kind of hooked you with in the beginning? And you really don't get that until the very end of the film.
And that's what I thought was a little bit confusing. Where I'm like, who was the guy? Because it started out in, 95, 90.
Right.
95, yeah, and then jumped to 2018.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I was locked in. Like, what the fuck? Like, I expected a different scene when even when they go over the bridge, the Temple of Doom type bridge they walked over.
That was fucking horrifying. Just even standing on that thing was fucking scary.
Right.
I was having an anxiety attack. I had to fucking take
that in that scene when he falls down. That I fucking love that scene. And the skeleton sort of like statue was. That was so fucking cool.
What that totally reminded me of was a space jockey.
Oh yeah.
It just had the same kind of feeling, of something that you're not supposed to find.
Yeah.
Something that's kind of left behind, like a husk, and it was just like that, Yeah.
But I really got invested in the first characters we see.
Yeah.
And then when it went down, we're like, oh, snap. What the fuck?
Yeah. And all of a sudden you see this Donnie Wahlberg motherfucker go running down the street, and you're like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
And then, when it came to fucking, made for TV Stephen Amell, which I guess was kind of Stephen Amell. I think the lead actor was great, but he did remind me of TV's Arrow a little bit, which is fine. And I like the actor who was the lead, but
James Badgedale, we've seen him in a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, but he of TV's Arrow, which is not, or now stars Heels.
Okay.
Can we move beyond your crush?
Okay.
He was in The Departed, Ravenchannel. That's your fucking movie, man.
The fucking Departed.
The Departed.
Well,
he was in that
comes
movie.
The accent.
Yeah, he was in that movie Hold the Dark that we did, and
oh my, I'm going in.
I thought there was one other that he was in, but maybe not. Okay, continue, Ravenchannel.
But no, but yeah. So I was trying to figure out how these other characters in the time jump worked, and it was jarring.
Yeah, it definitely was jarring. I think it was fucking bold, and I really liked the move to do that because it set a great tone, and it also introduced you to a character that you'll see later on, and it introduced you to a concept as well. So I think that was important, but to have a 23-minute, pre-title screen scene is fucking ballsy. So I applaud it. I loved it. But it's one of those things. Like you guys, I was enthralled by that opening, and it was and then I realized, and I saw, and I was like, holy shit, we're 22 and a half minutes into it. That just flew by for me, So for me, that intro didn't seem like it was that long, even though we did get invested in the characters.
Right.
Oh yeah, I definitely had to check the time when that title card popped up.
Yeah.
It was just what the fuck, and yeah, I was like, okay, yep, this is a unique movie.
Yeah, it was riveting. It was suspenseful. It was beautiful. It was haunting. It was light. It was dark.
Right.
And again, it set the tone for the rest of the film. Even though you don't see these characters again.
Well, we do.
Well, yeah, I didn't want to say that, but thanks for spoiling that one, Johnny.
Well, okay.
Right.
But when we get into more modern time, it's just we're starting from scratch all over again, and only this time it's taken an extra hour and 50 minutes to tell the tale, and
because we're telling a different tale. We're telling a different tale at this point.
Right.
Yeah. And it's a slow burn at the start, but things start picking up and things start ratcheting up. The tension gets ratcheted up. Bizarre visuals start ratcheting up and shit like that. So
right.
And the terror started ratcheting up too. And the one thing I liked a lot that really helped this tension and really helped scenes develop was the score. I could not take my ears off of that goddamn score. It was phenomenal.
Right.
But when
okay, go ahead.
No, go.
Oh no, I just wanted to comment on the score. One of my big problems with the score is I never could completely understand or discern whether the score was for us or for the characters.
Right.
Because there were times where there were sounds for the characters or sounds for us, and I couldn't tell the difference.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't clear.
Right. It's interesting. There was a traditional film score, Christopher Young, who did it, who It was enhanced by some music or sound effects, I should say, by Lustmord. Who, if you guys are familiar.
Oh, Brian Lustmord's amazing.
Yeah.
Man. Like if you've ever heard any of the Lustmord albums, oh my God.
Yeah.
I highly, highly, highly recommend Lustmord. Yeah, I love like some of the most like. Do you guys know the story behind the Hellraiser soundtrack that the British band Coil did?
I do. Yeah, I have.
Yeah,
I love that score.
Where Clive Barker originally asked this British industrial band Coil to do the soundtrack, and he said it was too haunting, so they never released it. And he went with what we know. But Lustmord is the same way. I mean, he's never scored any films that I know of aside from being involved in this.
Yep.
But the Lustmord albums, man, like Heavy Dread.
Yeah,
I love them.
Yeah, definitely. It's good stuff. So I didn't know heading in. I saw that after the fact, but I was like, oh shit, that's pretty awesome that Lustmord contributed some stuff there to the score. So
cool. I was gonna say too, like after thinking about it now, this is a kind of a deep dive, but from the 80s, there was a film that Pierce Brosnan did called Nomads. I don't know if you guys had ever seen that film.
I never have.
And it's an older film, but it's about this kind of professor who finds out that there's these kind of tribes out there of these people that are kind of immortals, that are kind of scavengers, and once they find out that he knows about them, he's kind of haunted by them. And it's kind of similar in the way of old school horror. The idea that there's these things, like again going back to Lovecraft or that kind of anthropology horror, as I guess I want to refer to it as. But yeah, it really kind of stuck with me.
It's funny you say that, Tim, because I remember back in the day, I think we're all close to the same age, when like video stores would pop up, not only in mom and pop shops, but maybe like your local like department store might have a video store section, or like up here we had service merchandise or whatnot. That would be a poster that I remember seeing. In the section they had next to the VHS and the beta tape. I never saw it.
It's not a great film by any stretch, but it's just the idea that of finding this kind of ancient thing that once you kind of lock into it or it acknowledges you, it's gonna basically stick to you, and you have to deal with it.
Yeah,
I think girl. Yeah.
There was some interesting concepts in this as well, like the idea of the Pontifex Institute, and sort of
Cronenbergian.
Yeah, definitely Cronenbergian, and just their sort of like programming and sort of everything that goes along with that. And I just there was so many cool things about this that, like, was it confusing at times? Absolutely. Like, there was a couple scenes, especially when he's at the Pontifex Institute and he's listening to that guy talk. I had to like rewind some of that to kind of just get everything because I wanted to make sure I understood. And I was watching with T-Dog, and thankfully she like gave me even more insight than I had even had. So I think it's a very dense film. There's a lot going on, and I could see it being very easy to sort of just like tune out of, because it's like, well, what the fuck? Like, what is all this is just all bullshit. Give me the scares. Give me the fucking horror.
With Pontifex, did you get any of you guys get any Beyond the Black Rainbow out of that?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the other director I was trying to think of, Panos Cosmatos. That's the other.
Yeah, there was some cool stuff there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's funny, looking, Creepy Girl says, I can't believe you all like this. Wow. Well, Tim didn't. But we'll find out, during the verdict. But
I'm trying to be supportive. I'm trying to be nice.
And she says, I thought that when I watched it that some people may love it and some won't, but I didn't think all 4 of the Trick or Treat Radio guys would like it.
Tim, for the record, you don't have to be nice.
Our verdict yet.
Yeah, it's true. We haven't given our verdict yet, but
you know what I really have to hand out, like, to this film, and got to give this guy total props for, is the fact that one of the things that really has pulled me out of the horror genre in the most recent years is how everything has just become so profoundly just so formulaic.
Yeah.
And, and I mean, and not to say that anybody who loves this is our genre. We all love it. We all live, breathe, and shit it. But the fact is, treating horror fanatics with intelligence, and and not dumbing things down, and not just playing your cards all out on the table. I mean, that's why guys like Cronenberg were who they were, because they basically made their films on their own terms. They didn't spoon feed anything to you. I mean, a lot of the original people that we cherish now, they never spoon fed any of it to us. They just basically said, take it as I presented or leave it. And I think that's what we need to go back to now. And I think that more directors need to kind of, everybody now just thinks, well, I don't want to look like a self-indulgent bumwhiffer or a prick because I have a vision. I just want to do what I want to do. No, dude, do it. No, because I mean, and now, like you were saying, Tim, about cult films, it's like people may not recognize that now, or somebody may be lambasted for being, too into themselves or whatever, as it's assumed. But years later, people are going to see it and say, this guy knew what he was doing. He had a vision and he ran with it. It was just like, take it or leave it. It wasn't him saying he's the authority on everything. It's just somebody saying, I know specifically what I want to do. And people are either going to, catch up to it or they're not.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And that's one of the things I really liked about this is it felt like a cohesive vision. Whether or not you liked it, that's to be determined. But this had a cohesive vision, and I just thought it had it was almost like it had elements of almost like a noir film. There was just some really cool elements of this that felt so different from other horror films that I've seen. And I just love the world building and also just having such depth to the story. So whether or not you liked it, it's hard to deny that is there,
Right.
And this isn't your typical streaming horror flick. This is a moderate sized budget. 16 million is nothing to sneeze at, and it had a pretty good amount of money put into it. And like you said, Tim, it might have just been all cinematography, but the film looked great. It had some great scenes. It had some memorable scenes. This is one of the creepiest scenes I've seen in a film in a long time. And I don't know if you guys all agree with me about which scene.
The bridge?
No,
the fire pit.
The fire pit, yes.
Yeah.
That whole scene.
That was fantastic.
Fucking brilliant. When I was blown away by that scene. In it, and MZ, when you said Kill List, that's what I thought of when that had a folky kind of feel to it.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
When he's sitting in the reeds and he's looking out and he's
And there was that because they talked about it being like an organism, all kind of working together as one organism, and that was beautifully on display in that scene because the fire goes out, and that when the fire went out, I was like, fuck, holy fuck, what is going to happen? And then it's almost like when he took a step back, it took a step forward. So it's like this, when you run away, it's coming after you. It's not like a slasher where it's fucking, just coming after you, but it's almost like when you start running, it's coming out, it runs towards you. So in that whole scene,
like an animal, like a dog or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and that whole scene where they're...
What took me out of that scene is that scene was teased earlier on. So I already knew what was going to happen.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, you can assume what's going to happen, but I guess for me, it's the execution and it's the atmosphere that.
Part of it though, because even you knew what was going to happen because of the teasing of it. Like you assumed the chase, but the execution was teased, and that was just a little bit lessened for me because of the teasing of it earlier on.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Now, to go back to something you said earlier, Johnny, about the noir aspect of it, I agree with you. And I think that's funny is that when you look at a lot of Lovecraft stories, they're almost the same way, like they're noir.
Yeah.
And then there's this idea with Lovecraft where it's just kind of like, it could be that, but it could be that, but it could be that, but it could be that. And then in the very final paragraph, they say, nope, it's definitively this.
Right.
And that's when everybody loses their shit.
Yeah.
And I mean, and that's what the movie does as well.
Yeah. And did I like the direction it went at the end? I didn't necessarily see that coming, and I was maybe slightly disappointed by the direction it went, because it did. I could see how some might say it was a cop out, or like it was a nice way to kind of tidy things up. But for me, when you go back and think about it, I started thinking, when the movie ended, I started going back and thinking, and I was like, oh yeah, like that scene there, this makes sense. They foreshadowed this. So, I saw Creepy Girl said if it seemed like they changed the plot in the middle of the movie, and I could see why someone would say that, but it was all there for you. If you go back and see stuff, it's all there.
It's kind of like whatchamacallit, it's Hereditary. The first time I saw Hereditary, I missed a lot.
Yeah.
Like I was just sitting there just watching it, like I was sitting with my wife. We're just kind of, in and out of it. And then all of a sudden I went, wait a minute. And then I watched it again. I'm just like, oh shit, there. Like it's, like you can, draw the lines, when you see it again. But the first time I didn't get it,
Yeah. And even, this is a good one. Evil Corny says, this reminded me of Angel Heart, The Ring, and In the Mouth of Madness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's mentioned before too. I mean, like, I fucking love me some Angel Heart.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That blew me away when I saw that when I was fucking 21, 22 when I was.
Yeah, and there's just something that I really like about this sort of like when a detective, or in this case, he wasn't a former detective, and he is getting, like, he basically gets caught up in this investigation, and he really embeds himself in it and gets so caught up in it that he is now part of it. And there's something that's always kind of cool about that, and that's why, like, like those films that were mentioned, even like 2 Degrees 7, right? Like,
right. Yep.
Like there's something that's really interesting about that when you explore this world that you're not familiar with, and it sucks you into it. It's that, I mean, there's that Nietzsche quote, the Nietzsche quote about the abyss, about staring into the abyss.
He who stares in the abyss,
and
which they meant. And
right,
I mean, I liked the fact that I liked his involvement in checking out, like, a guy that drinks too much and smokes too much is in a schoolyard and he's interviewing kids with butts, and the scene with one girl a cigarette.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, hey, you can't fucking do that. You can't be smoking butts on school property. I fucking know. You can't do that. It ain't the fucking
not anymore.
They don't let you do that anymore. But this dude's just like smoking butts. He's like, hey, tell me about your friends. You got a cigarette? Come on in. I'm like, bro, you cannot have a
I mean, don't even mention, like trying to get an underage girl in your car. Right? You're talking about the smoking, right?
Yeah, right. Like, smoking is probably the worst thing you could do. But like, yeah, I don't care how much information you can't give. Don't give anybody a ride. Don't put them in your car. Don't fucking do.
Yeah, no shit. There literally is so much to talk about with this movie. I could I used to take, as you guys know, I used to take notes for all the films. I stopped taking notes for a while because I just want to kind of enjoy the films and, worry about it after. But this is one that I wish I had taken notes, because there is so much to dive into. And there's so many great scenes, I think, and so many, like, memorable scenes. And one other one I want to call up just before that fire pit scene is the one where he's watching the VHS tape.
Yeah.
That was kind of fucked up, and like I thought that was brilliant. And then when he looked over onto the wall and he sees the thing that's in the tape, it's like, fuck, like there's just a lot of dread, and it's not jump scares. It is like this thick fucking like miasm of like fucking dread and fear throughout that I think is just done so well.
And I'm not sure what that word you said was, meowsum. I'm not sure what that is.
Meowsum. I didn't say meowsum.
Yowza.
Sounds like meowsum. What'd
I
you
said
say?
miasma.
Tim.
Oh,
So
he's got asthma.
Do they have that in Canada?
Miasma.
Okay, get to your point.
Oh, miasma.
Oh, miasma.
Yeah, they probably
I
had.
got a goiter in my asthma.
I don't know what Johnny just said, and I feel I lost my point. But it was.
You lost your point years ago.
I'm not sure.
Ravenchannel. It's called dictionary.com.
Mary, send me a link.
Yeah. Don't encourage him to use his phone during the show.
Do you want me to read you the definition, Ravenchannel?
Of me, what? This is yes, but I want you to say it again.
Miasma. Miasma.
You got to do it in that Siri voice. Miasma.
Miasma. M-I-A-S-M-A, Ravenchannel, okay? And
Asthma.
there's two definitions, Ravenchannel. The first one I think applies to you. A highly unpleasant or unhealthy smell or vapor. And then the second one is the one that I was using, an oppressive or unpleasant atmosphere which surrounds or emanates from something.
All right, everyone knows.
I think they can both apply.
Look, yeah, it's fucking the miasma is like seeping off Ravenchannel's walls and his lungs.
After a good session at Taco Bell, there's plenty of miasma.
Oh shit.
Exactly.
Yeah. On the first day, you taste the chili. On the second day,
yep, you got the miasma.
Yeah.
Yep.
And on the third day,
Yep.
Don't even think about it. Ravenchannel, were you gonna say something? Were you?
I don't even fucking know.
All
No
right,
one
you
knows.
forgot.
No one knows that word.
Has anyone ever heard that word? Come on, someone's got to back me up.
Of course.
All right, Jesus Christ, Ravenchannel, you're the only person that doesn't know it.
No. Tim from fucking Korea and/or Canada writes shit, and he's fucking
He's
smart.
smart. He is smart. Yeah.
But fucking Monique and Unique don't know what that word means. All right.
All right, you're gonna insult me and you expect me to back you up.
Yeah.
Can you see that?
Boy, you sure know how to make friends.
Oh shit.
All right. Well, I'm sorry to fucking Webster and it's fucking
to Webster. To
in the.
Don't you bring Emmanuel Lewis?
Yeah,
in
exactly. I'm just gonna say that.
I guess TV's man. I'm sorry.
TV's miasma.
No, corny. Do they have miasma in Alabama?
In Alabama?
Alabama?
Alabama.
Yeah, that's what they put on the grits. They cover the slather the grits in miasma. Yeah, sure. Jesus.
Come on, man.
I don't know that. That's a weird word.
Well, now you do. Use it in a sentence, Ravenchannel.
I don't know what miasma.
What was that commercial? The more you know.
Yeah.
It truly could be like fucking.
Say the word again.
Malzabub.
What?
Malzabub.
Miasma. Like miasma. Miasma.
I can't believe we're taking this long for this shit. I don't believe
Really? You're shocked at this point?
Yeah,
We're fucking 8 years deep.
I should learn by now.
You've known him for 20 plus years, and we've been doing the show for 9+. You're fucking shocked.
That sounds to me like an incantation that Dr. Stephen Strange would use against fucking Asmodal or some fucking Mephisto or Blackheart or some weird shit.
All right, I'm gonna tell you the best way to handle a word you don't understand.
Thank you.
Nod and smile, and just move on.
It's a weird fucking word, corny.
Why are you talking to Corny? I'm the one talking to you. If you hadn't brought it up, we would be at the verdict at this point.
Double D. It's a weird fucking word. They don't have fucking that. What's that word again?
They have Mama Juana down there.
Yeah, nobody in Dominican Republic has that word down there.
Shut up. All right.
Why you gonna go racist? What's that?
It's a weird word. It's like fucking Agamemnon.
Evil Corny says, Aries, what's the Cash App, please?
Oh my god, I'm definitely gonna set one of those motherfuckers up.
First time Mike says, I like brown sugar and butter and grits.
Yep.
All right. Well, enough about this miasma, Ravenchannel. All right. So let's.
It's your fucking word, Johnny.
MZ, should we talk more about miasma?
Oh.
All right. So, is there anything else you guys wanted to bring up about this flick before we head to the verdict? I know that there's a ton to talk about, but we're not going to be able to reach it all.
Well, it's interesting how it's no fault of the film, but you look at the legacy of everything before 20th Century Fox and all the things that Fox basically we've come to know and love from Fox. And that how Fox ended on this note, it's really interesting to me.
Yeah.
How, like the whole legacy of Fox. And then Fox goes out in this weird little cryptic little film.
I know.
I think that's kind of like, it's kind of bizarre.
Yeah, it absolutely is. All right, so I guess we'll make it official. Why don't we go ahead and do the verdict now?
Trick or treat, baby.
I wonder if people would say you're a trick or a treat.
Trick or treat, motherfucker.
All right, it is verdict time. We're going to let you know whether the empty man was a trick or a treat, or also give any final thoughts we may have. Let's kick it off with Monster Zero.
I love movies that's not afraid to take a risk. And usually big budget Hollywood movies don't like to take those risks. Everything is pre-planned to the very last frame of film. Here, this film, this filmmaker, this crew, this cast, they took risks. And I think it paid off. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I understand everything that went on in this movie. I certainly didn't. But I did like what I saw. Quite a bit, in fact. So there is a rewatchability factor. One is that if you like that movie good enough, you'd want to see it again. And two, whatever you didn't catch before, you're likely to check it on either the second or third or fourth time around. And that's where I fall into this category. This was a interesting movie, a daring movie, a bold movie, a brave movie. I could certainly see the creepypasta influence here. When I was watching this, I was thinking, yeah, this is definitely the Slender Man or something on that effect. After the fire pit scene, I think that's when things really started ratcheting up. But I think that's also where I started losing focus as to what the hell was going on. It's certainly there's got to be some sense to it all. Otherwise, it wouldn't be almost 2.5 hours. Otherwise, knowing what I've seen here, I'm intrigued to see the 90-minute cut. There's a lot of tension. There's a couple scenes of decent horror involved. The characters are good. So I mean, the acting is good. The score is phenomenal. The cinematography is off the charts, and the direction. This is the first time. Is this first time director, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Feature director. Yeah. I am really interested to see where this guy goes after this. The influence is there, obviously. You could definitely see They Live. You could definitely see Videodrome and Beyond the Black Rainbow, like Tim mentioned before, and a few others. I really dug this flick quite a bit, even though I didn't fully understand it. But I think a couple more viewings of that will cure that right up. This is a big treat.
All right, big time treat for MZ. Let's go to Aries.
All right, I'm going to agree with a lot of what MZ said. There's a lot going on in this, and it is, so many different layers, and I don't think you're going to get it all in one viewing. This movie is not a straight line. There's a lot of, little zigs and zags where you think you know where it's going and it goes someplace else. And I think calling the entity the Empty Man is kind of intentional because it is filled with, whatever the people want it to be. And that is why the rules change. As I said earlier, they don't abide by those rules. I think because, it is filled with whatever the people want it to be. And that is why, as it progresses, it turns into more of a Slender Man or that type of story, when it isn't really that. It is that to the people in the world, but it is not to the viewer. And this movie, I think someone that listens to this show was involved in this movie, because this movie did so much that pisses me off about movies, but then in the end explained it, and I went, oh fuck. I hated it, and then they explained it, and I went, motherfucker, I like it.
Yeah.
And I hate when movies do that, but I love when movies do that. So this movie, it is a long watch. It is not an exciting watch. It is very deliberately paced. And if you have the patience to put your mind into a movie, check this movie out. This movie is a treat.
All right. Ravenchannel.
It ain't Casablanca, right?
Jesus Christ.
But
that's going on the box. If they ever do a physical release of this, it ain't Casablanca.
I gotta ask, Ravenchannel, have you ever seen Casablanca?
I do. I fucking love Casablanca.
Really? I doubt that. I don't know.
Full of shit.
But go ahead.
Fucking, the chick in the bar, don't come my bar, played against him, all that fucking Nazis being Nazis. Fuck those guys. Casablanca treat, highest order. But no, nothing. Yes, there are some movies that there are some similar themes in this. The length of this picture is unusual, right? I mean, if you're looking for I Know What You Did Last Summer, part 28, you're probably not going to get this. I like the setup. I think it did have a bit of its own mythology that, may borrow from other mythologies. But I think that was interesting, wrapped up in a detective kind of drama. The length of this picture is unusual, right, for this maybe genre. It's not typical for this kind of thing. And if you're looking for, jump scares and, TNA, you're not going to find it. But there were some moments that I definitely popped for some of the gore and violence. I mean, I'm saying the shower scene was downright terrifying.
That's not why you liked it.
No, but that was actually weird too, because I'm like, this is because that character was in high school. It was like the first time where I'm like, no, I'm too old to watch this.
Yeah.
I find it interesting that you segue into that, and it's like, there's not a lot of TNA, but I'm going to bring up the TNA in the movie.
But no, I was focusing on that. I was focusing on what happened in the denouement of that scene, so to speak. Tim, that's French for
he fucking knows.
I know he knows. I'm sorry.
Oh no! I want to know if you know, because you always use it.
Please tell the Canadian about French.
Yeah.
Go ahead. What does it mean?
Look at the Canadian. He looks like. And look at the Canadian. He looks like he's regretting every minute he's spent with us right now.
Yeah, so the results of the shower scene left a real miasma, right?
It's is before the Canadians put the biscuit in the basket, right? That's a fucking hockey thing. Go Bergeron. With the Bruins.
Jesus
Christ. But overall, I think but I'm sorry, I'm not gonna say what we're all trying to say, but it was a long movie. It was long.
Right. I got a question
Not
for you
as long
guys.
as this review.
The whole history of Trick or Treat Radio, how have you guys never managed yet to give Ravenchannel a shovel?
What, to dig my own grave?
Yeah. To dig
I was thinking about off the head.
To dig himself out of the miasma he's creating. Or to hit him on the head. Yeah, that works.
It was a surprise treat. It's fucking a long treat.
Long treat. Yeah, you're our size guy, Ravenchannel. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, let's go to Ghetto Tim and find out his verdict.
Well, like I said earlier, I mean, I've listened to everybody talk about the virtues of this film, and I can understand how, like you said, Jesse, it was pretty ballsy for them to just basically go in a different direction right after the first 20 some odd minutes. But it was so jarring to me. It was just like, what happens? Because I'm not going to give away any spoilers, but it's just like, where the hell is it going to go after that? And then boom, and it goes into this thing that's completely different, right? But then I guess what had happened, I mean, one thing that's kind of hard when you watch a lot of films is that you try not to compare what you're currently watching with something in the past, but it's impossible to do so. And I think that it's like I've seen aspects, like we've all said, there's different aspects in this film of different other of other films, and I've seen the procedural before, I've seen certain things before, and it just seems like I've seen so much of it that it just seemed like, okay, that's from this, and this is from this, and this is from this, and this is from this, and it just seemed like there was just so much that they were trying to pack into like 2 hours plus, that it just seemed like like MZ was saying, about you're going to have to watch this 2 or 3 times to really unpack all of this, not just because of the plot, but just because it's just so dense. It's just really, really dense, this film. But I mean, I wanted to see the film that they shot in the first 22 minutes. I wanted to see them continue with that. I'm sorry, but I was just kind of like, man, like this is really wicked, being in Tibet. And I really thought it was going to be more of a weird, exotic, almost not to the level, of course, of Boxer's Omen, but I expected it to be kind of like that weird, you're in a weird locale, and then it's all going to stick to that locale. And then it's all going to be about, whoever else goes up on that mountain. And that's what I really anticipated. I didn't anticipate it winding up coming back to like North America and kind of playing out the way it did. So I guess, in the end, what I'm saying is you can look at that 2 ways. You can either say, you feel ripped off, or you can say, it's kind of innovative, that they're going to say, look, like indulge us a little. We're going to take you on a trip,
Yeah.
So I would have to say it was a trick for me, but I can see how it could be a treat for others.
All right. And finally, for me, I mean, if it wasn't clear, I really fucking dug this movie. This is a big treat for me. And I love how, as I mentioned, I mean, you guys have repeated some of it. I love how bold it is. I love how high concept it is. I love that this filmmaker didn't give a fuck about like what people thought. He just wanted to make his film, and I'm actually kind of amazed that he got the money to make it. And maybe it is because 20th Century Fox maybe they knew they were selling and they had some extra money to throw around. Maybe they're like, yeah, fuck it, here you go, here, take this money and just go make a fucking picture, kid. Stop bugging us. I don't know exactly what the story was behind that, but I love that this got made, and I love how the attention to detail. There's some shots in this that are just, not only are they great shots, I loved, and also it was anamorphic. It was shot in scope as well, like widescreen, and I think that really suits, especially the first 22 and a half minutes, but also a lot of the other shots. So there's like a shot when the camera kind of pans up as he's walking into like a factory, and it kind of pans up, and then you look up, and then you see like one of the windows open. Like, I don't know if you guys caught that, but there's a lot of subtlety in what was going on in the scenery, and that's something I love, because I love that motion of just seeing like these great shots and getting rewarded for paying attention to see what's going on. And that was another thing that I liked about it. And I liked a lot of the philosophy behind this and the concept of the empty man. I'm not going to go and talk too much about it because I want to leave some stuff for people who haven't seen the movie. But I just think it's a really interesting concept. And there's some other, for you guys, if you don't know what tulpa means, Tulpa, that was in the movie Ravenchannel. I didn't know what it meant beforehand, but look it up. It helps you to understand more about this film if you want to, because they show that it's on the back of one of the Pontifex Institute cars,
right.
And it says tulpa. And so if you look that up and see what the meaning of that, the ending of this might make more sense to you, or you might understand.
There are aspects of Buddhism in this, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So, there is some cool stuff like that, and it is a deep movie. There's a lot going on. This is something that you'll be rewarded for additional watches, especially now that if you've seen it once, you know what happens. You can pick up on some of the subtlety throughout. And there was some genuinely fucking amazing scenes. That campfire scene, as MZ and I were talking about, was brilliant. One of my favorite scenes in a movie, maybe this year, maybe in the last couple of years. Just really outstanding stuff. So I love this. I hope David Pryor gets to make another flick soon, because I imagine it's going to be some of the similar stuff, and I hope he does get to make another one. And I hope this film is finally finding its audience, because obviously when it was released, they didn't give a fuck about it. They just put it out there. They're like, you know what? Let's make a couple million on this. And they did. They made like 2 million or 4 million or something like that.
Sure.
And, but I'm glad that it's finally finding its audience. I've seen a lot of people talking about this online on YouTube and in podcasts and stuff like that. So, and it was one that I kind of wanted to check out because of that. So, and I'm happy to champion this film because I think it's a brilliant film. So I think people should check it out.
Not that it's on the same tier, but I mean, when you realize the fact that initially when The Thing and Blade Runner first came out, they both tanked in the theaters.
Right, exactly.
And then, I mean, years and years later now, they're basically, legend. I mean, so who knows?
Creepy Girl, it looks like she has takes some issue here. She says, basically, Raven said it was too long. MZ said he didn't understand it, but they both gave it a treat. And don't knock slashers and simple plot horror. We all grew up on it, and people that love those movies aren't stupid and hate cerebral films. I did not like this movie because I didn't like it. But there are many others deep and cerebral films I love. Sorry, I felt kind of insulted. Said my piece. Still love you. Oh, good night. Maybe she was talking to me because I was talking when she posted that. But I just give my thoughts. I don't react to what other people say. So yeah, Creepy Girl, there's definitely no attacks, or I'm not targeting you. Like that's what I love about cinema. I love 2001 Space Odyssey is my favorite film of all time. MZ knows this. We went and saw it together in theater in 35 millimeter, and I still can't explain why that is my favorite movie. There's something about it that's still, every single time I watch it, I feel like I'm going to have a breakthrough and finally understand what it means to me. And I don't. And that's the thing that keeps me coming back, is I don't quite get it. I don't quite understand every aspect of it. And I fucking love that about it. It's so bizarre, but I love that. And this movie has a little bit of that. And yes, I'm not going to compare David Pryor to Stanley Kubrick, but there is a Kubrick influence in this, and he has an attention to detail. There's some subtle things in this, especially in the beginning with the knife in that scene in Tibet. The knife, they place it on like a place on the next to the door at the beginning, and then like some really subtle things like that, and you wonder where the fuck she get the knife. Well, it was there because they focus on it for like half a second, So there's so many cool little things about this movie that I could go on and on about, and I'm not going to. So we'll end it there. But there you go. We got four treats and one trick, and I think this is a film that will find its audience and will become a modern cult classic, because it was one of those ones that just bombed in cinema. People didn't know what to think of it, and now it's finally finding its audience. So there you go. That is our discussion of The Empty Man.
If I could just chime in here a little bit with what Creepy Girl said. I mean, no one was insulting anyone for not liking this movie. But sometimes, I mean, we all do this. We all like a movie, and we want everyone we know to like that movie. And when they don't, we don't understand why. Because we like that movie, we want our friends to like that movie. And when they don't, we don't quite understand it. And it may come off a little harsh that you don't like this movie that I love. I want you to love this movie. It's nothing personal. It's just we like this movie. We want you to like this movie. And it's not, I'm not saying this movie as in the movie we watch, just whatever movie we're speaking of. And that can be held true to any movie, whether it's, you know, a psychological thriller or just a straight up slasher. It is just ingrained in us. We like it. We want you to like it. And that is kind of what we're portraying with this show. Whether we like it or don't like it, that is the message we're coming across. We're not trying to insult anyone for liking or not liking what we like and don't like.
Exactly. Taste is subjective. I mean,
yeah, absolutely. I think that's a good call.
We've had some brawls amongst ourselves.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, but that's what we do. We like to discuss films, and because we're all friends, we can insult each other. We don't like to insult our listeners. We like to value their opinion.
Creepy Girl said, everyone kept saying if you like brainless films, you won't like this. Did anyone say that?
I don't ever recall hearing that.
I don't think anyone. Not in this episode, Creepy Girl, at least. Dane.
I guess what I was trying to say was, you know, a lot of times there are directors who will go out of their way just to make a standard, you know, paint by numbers film, and this is not one of them. And I said, and I just kind of said it was refreshing that, you know, they didn't dumb it down in this way. Where I find that for me, a lot of other films, you know, they kind of make the assumption that a lot of times all horror fans just want a straight, you know, by the book, you know, film. But I'm not saying everybody's like that. Everybody is, you know, everybody's taste is everybody's taste. I mean, you know.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, we just give our thoughts and feelings, and as Ari said, we've known each other 20 plus years, and we do yell at each other a lot. So, Dane says, Johnny, I seen 2001 in 70 millimeter on a massive screen at the Hayden Orpheum in Sydney, which might be the best cinema in Australia for a cinema lover. It was absolutely a religious experience. If anyone ever gets a chance to see it from film, it's an absolute must see. And I actually do remember I did see it in 70 millimeter. I caught it in IMAX when it had that IMAX re-release. So I have seen it in 35. I've seen it in 70, and I've seen it, you know, countless times on VHS and DVD and Blu-ray.
Briefly speaking, did any of you guys ever get to see the Kubrick exhibit when it came through?
That's what we went to, wasn't it, MZ, or was that something different?
Yeah.
It was at the.
I think that was it.
Where they had all the Dykstra stuff from 2001 with the miniatures.
Oh,
and
that one.
No, we didn't see that.
No,
okay,
no.
Oh, okay.
No.
Because like in
I
Seoul,
know which one.
Yeah, in Seoul they had a Kubrick exhibit where they actually had props from Lolita, and they had props from Barry Lyndon and Ben-Hur, and like that was amazing to see. You know, and it was so funny. Like they even did the Kurova Milk Bar. And
awesome.
It was amazing. It was really good.
That's super cool. I would have loved. I remember hearing about that. I would have loved to have seen that, but I didn't catch it. MZ and I saw. Is it at the Boston Art Museum? They had a Kubrick a feature on his films that they were showing at the Art Museum.
Boston Museum of Fine Arts, but I know what what Tim's talking about. You could see that in a what was it? It was a documentary on Kubrick's limo driver, I think.
Right.
I forget. Yeah, I forget the name of it, but it was a documentary on Kubrick's limo driver, and at the ass end of the doc, they show segments of the Kubrick displays.
Exhibit, yeah.
Pretty amazing stuff too.
Oh, it was incredible. Yeah.
Cool. All right, so that's going to wrap up our film discussion. Next week, we are going to be doing a film that is on Shudder. It just dropped on Shudder today, and it's called Martyr's Lane. And it's a film directed by Ruth Platt. It's been getting some pretty good buzz. So if you guys want to play along at home, check out Martyr's Lane on Shudder. All right, so we do have some voice messages, and we're going to wrap things up. Tim, you good for...
Yeah.
Okay, cool. We just got a few voice messages. We'll hear some thoughts on what people think about. I think they're going to talk about the film we just talked about. So let's first check in with our boy, Evil Corny.
Hey, guys. The Empty Man. I'm going to give this film a tepid treat. It's parts of this film that I like. Parts of it I thought were just okay. I have problems with pacing of this film. It felt like it was a longer film than it is. I'm used to watching long films, but this 2 hour, 20-minute film felt like 3 hours to me. Parts of it felt like it kind of drug on and everything. But overall, I think it was just an okay film. I'm kind of interested in looking and seeing if this comic book was in trade form or whatever. I just want to see, get some backstory or get some more information about what's going on in this. And yeah. Well, you all have a good one. Evil Corny out. What's up, Raven Shadow?
Dude.
That's your dude.
But don't ever forget, don't get it twisted, no matter what's said.
I am curious to read the comic book now. I'm supposedly it's very loosely based, so a lot of it is probably different. But I would be very curious to check that out. So, all right, Corny. Well, apparently my computer doesn't hate you this week, so glad to hear from you. Glad we got your voice message. And next, let's check in with our boy Arkham Josh.
Hello, Trick or Treat Radio guys. It's Arkham Josh here to call in with my thoughts on this week's film, The Empty Man. Another one I was not familiar with before you guys chose it, but was happy to check it out. It's an interesting film. The story is interesting. I'm not familiar at all with the comic that it's based on, so I can't really comment there. But what I will say is, conceptually, there's a lot of interesting stuff going on here, and everything looks good. There was just something about the film that just didn't grab me. I think it had too many kind of, I guess, shifts in it, where it's opens with this kind of very supernatural opening, and then it turns into like a urban legends, haunting type of film. And then it's this kind of new age cult kind of film. All of it was interesting, but it wasn't compelling enough to really suck me in. This seems like an odd comment to make, but this struck me as something that might have been better if it was fleshed out into a mini-series. Maybe if it was 3 or 4 hour-long episodes or something. Because the transitions just seemed oh, it's this thing now. Oh, it's this thing now. It just didn't seem to really flow for me. I don't think anybody necessarily was doing anything wrong. The acting was fine. And everything looked good. But I think it was just probably a matter of trying to condense this graphic novel all into one just over 2 hour movie. So I'm going to say tepid treat, where it's worth a watch, but if you have HBO, go ahead and watch it, but I can't recommend anybody go out and pay just to see this. So there you go. I don't know, interesting to hear what you guys think about it, and I'll talk to you guys soon, all right? Bye.
All right, Arkham Josh. Good to hear from you, my man. Ravenchannel, you're clapping.
For Josh.
Oh, okay. Surprised you didn't pat yourself on the back after clapping for him. Oh, there we go. There it is. Okay.
Yeah,
all right. Let's. I believe we're going to hear another take on the Empty Man, and this is from your tag team partner, Ravenchannel, Double D.
Thank you.
Hey, what's up, Trick or Treat peeps? It's your boy Double D calling in to say what's up and to chime in on the movie of the week, The Empty Man. Boy, where do I start with this movie? Well, firstly, I know this movie was based off a graphic novel by Boom Studios, I believe it was. I never read the comic, so I'm curious as to how faithful it was to the source material. But in any event, the good parts, I think I was transfixed by the film for the first 22 minutes. I thought the mood setting was excellent. It had a perfect mix of dread and uncertainty of what was to come next. And then the rest of the movie happened. And it felt to me like they suddenly switched directors. I kept waiting and hoping for the vibe of the opening would come back, but it never did. And it just turned out to be like a rehash of concepts from better films like Kill List, Patrick, or Angel Heart, that's with Mickey Rourke and Robert De Niro. It has some similar concepts for this film. And also, it was just, I think my biggest issue was that they were like trying to do 3 plots in one movie. I mean, this movie is either about an ancient subterranean entity in Asia or about a scary U.S. childhood legend that may have turned out to be real, or a secretive cult that has somehow been manipulating people's thoughts and or creating people to use for its own nefarious but undefined purposes. I think it failed on all 3 of them at once. And I tried so hard to make sense of these 3 storylines, but finally I gave up. I thought the plot was way too convoluted, and I think that I had a real issue with the intentional obscure storytelling. It didn't work for me. I think for all this movie's strengths, it couldn't overcome the poor plotting. It really couldn't. I'm very glad I didn't pay for it. I'm very glad that I saw this, that I was able to download it somewhere. And for me, this is definitely a trick. I think the poor plotting just couldn't. I couldn't get over it, unfortunately. So, I'm very curious to hear what your guys' thoughts are. I'll be surprised if Aries likes this movie, knowing how he is I think he's the more particular of the quartet there. But we'll see. Anyway, can't wait for the show. Double D out.
All right, Double D. Yeah, it's funny, Aries, because he obviously knows your film likes, and you even said it earlier. You said, this film did all the things I hate, but then they explained them.
Yeah, I think he's missing that last bit of that.
Yeah.
I don't think, and this isn't a shot at him, he is just missing that aspect of that. And I think because of how I view movies, it is that type of thing is geared towards someone like me.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. So, Ravenchannel, your hand up.
I'm gonna change my vote, and I'm gonna agree with Double D.
No, you can't change your vote.
I'm gonna. Tim, I can change my vote, right?
No. If you submit a ballot to vote for a president, are you going to go back like an hour later and say, I want to change my vote?
It's all different now. There's new rules.
You can't
listen. According to Trump, you can. So
you can't.
You're a Trump supporter.
You can't listen to your tag team partner and then say, "Oh yeah, what he said."
Why? That's why you're a tag team partner.
No. Yeah, you think for yourself, okay?
But
Double D doesn't think for you.
No, but in this case,
he does.
Yeah, I think I changed my mind.
No,
I mean, we can. Well, it's no, Johnny and Tim. I think you know this from Canada because you guys are very aware. It's part of being more present, and I'm just, you know what? I agree with Double.
So you weren't present during the watching of the film? Is that what you're trying to say?
No, I lied, but now I'm present. No, I'm not having fun with you, but I changed my mind.
No, you can't change your mind. It's on tape, Ravenchannel.
All right, yeah, I tried.
Ravenchannel.
You can change your mind.
There's no sense in creating a miasma out of the situation.
That's what that word means. And feel that
you can change your mind as we're discussing the movie, but once you give your verdict, that's it.
Yeah, it's a verdict.
Well, I feel
do you
much
know,
like
wait,
Tim.
wait. Do you know what verdict means? Do you want me to look that up for you too?
I mean, I know what it means, but there's a special, what do you call it? What do you call it?
You're looking for an exemption.
He's always looking for an exemption, Tim, in everything he does.
I just want a way out.
He wants an exemption from life.
No, you're right. You know, it's like, I'm not looking for an exemption. I'm just looking for a way out.
An exemption to life.
Wait, you know what? I got the cure for all this. We just get rid of Ravenchannel and bring in Double D.
Sounds fair to me.
Because if you're just going to mirror Double D, we might as well just get it from the source.
Yeah, or else don't call him Double D anymore. Just call him the artist formerly known as Ravenchannel.
Ravenchannel, in the future, should we play Double D's voice message before you give your verdict?
Listen, that's fine. Whatever the fuck.
Is he your Serrano de Bergerac?
Yeah.
Is he your fucking Steve Martin? You the Steve Martin?
We pass it around.
Have you sitting on his knee with his hand up your ass?
7, but no, it's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
So do you want us to play Double D's voice messages before you give your verdict or not in the future?
It depends on the movie.
If you're not sure.
Yeah, maybe I'm not sure. I'm saying that I think we can all evolve and be better.
No, you're not allowed to say those words.
No.
Yeah.
That
evolve?
Well, you can be better.
You can't evolve.
Your opinion.
And you know what? Everyone's opinion can differ. You can differ from Double D and still get along with Double D.
Yeah. You think he's going to hate you?
I disagree with Double D. I still like Double D.
Don't fucking tell me about fucking Double D, okay? But I feel that
I am telling you about Double D. He's a nice guy. He's a little short, ruggedly handsome.
He likes his mama Juana.
Yeah, we argued about certain dates in your life, but I agree this is the fucking disagree. But nevertheless, I felt I would, I'm not open to change, like Rocky 4.
Oh my
okay.
God. Ravenchannel, let me read you the definition of verdict. An opinion or judgment. A decision on a disputed issue in a civil or criminal case or an inquest. It's pretty fucking final, okay?
Fair. I don't think that we fucking sworn on a stack of Bibles or Kirby or Baphomet or whatever that word that Tim keeps using. I don't understand what it means. Miasma, Bob. Mr. Mixixoplick. Oh, whatever the fuck. Like, I'm not...
MZ's going to fucking have a heart attack right now.
No, you know what? I mean, right from here on in, from every episode from here on in the future, man, when you get down to Ravenchannel, you say, now we're going to get the pancake verdict.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, we need to do the game show answer. Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you want to? Oh, you want to phone a friend? Double D.
Trick or treat, baby. Is it a trick? Is it a treat? Or is it both?
Or is it a baby?
I Korea and Canada so much, but I'm not flip-flopping. I'm just saying in this particular instance.
No, you're definitely flip-flopping.
You're flip-flopping.
Yeah. Get some maple syrup up in this motherfucker. But no, I'm just saying that.
Pancake verdict.
There was desperate storylines. And yeah, it could be a type of treat. Whatever the fuck. I like the beginning. I like
Jesus
Christ. MZ's going to turn to a pumpkin because you're all talking about this.
No. You know what, Johnny? Don't blame him. This is your fault. You knew what you were going to get when you asked him a stupid fucking question. This is your fault.
You didn't ask him a stupid question. You asked him his verdict. That's the fucking show.
It's the same. The verdict for Ravenchannel. Stupid question.
Pancake or butter? What's it gonna be?
Yeah, what do you like in your pancakes?
Syrup or butter?
What do you like in your pancakes, Ravenchannel?
No. He did not ask for his verdict. Double D gave his verdict. Ravenchannel chimed in. Oh, I'm gonna change my verdict, and then Johnny egged him on, and now we're in this mess again.
You're absolutely right, Monster Zero. Big ups yourself.
All right, he didn't need any egging on. He just would have gone on and on and on until we addressed it.
All right, we have one more voice message. Are you going to take off, MZ, or do you want to listen to this?
Thank you.
No, I'll listen.
Okay.
I'll listen.
All right, it's from FTM. So let's check in with our boy First Time Mike from Milwaukee.
What's up, Trick or Treat family? This is First Time Mike. Hope everything is well with you guys. Has been a while since I've talked to you. All is well, just been busy. I got a Raw Force review that I thought I sent to Johnny, but it might have gotten crossed in the mail, so I'll resend it for next week because I don't want to keep Monster Zero up too late because I feel your pain, brother. I really do. My review of The Empty Man. It was interesting, and the fact that I can't go into a lot of my thoughts about this movie because if I do, it would give a lot of spoilers. And I think that The Empty Man is a movie that you should go in with knowing as little about it as possible. And I agree with what a lot of people said. The trailer makes that pretty obvious that it encapsulates a little bit of what it is. And it's the surface level. Here's the creepypasta, Blumhouse, shocking, jump scare bit here. But this movie is a lot more complicated, a lot more nuanced of that one, and at times it almost lulled me to sleep because it's not a fast movie, and I think that maybe this movie could have cut out about a good 20 minutes out of it and still been a really strong movie. And one of the things I noticed right away is certain names, certain numbers, like La Sombra. I was a World of Darkness fan, didn't play it as much as some people we all know, but La Sombra is Spanish for the shadow, and I had some thoughts about that right away, and naming a character that in my mind it's going to set something. And starting the movie in Bhutan, which is a country like close to Tibet. That involves certain mythologies, which again I can't really get into because that'll come into some of the meaning and some of the twists of the movie that I like. The trailer did a disservice of it because this is not a shock-a-minute movie. This is actually a creepy slow burn. There's a lot of good parts on it. The soundtrack generally kept me kind of. It was an irritating one, but that just kind of pricked at the surface. And whenever I was starting to get bored, I started noticing little things and patterns that made the story more interesting. And I'll be honest, the ending was a gut punch, and the ending colors everything. I'm going to have to watch this again when I get a chance and watch, knowing what the ending is now and noticing all the clues that they placed in there. And, but I recommend The Empty Man. It's a treat. It's a movie. This isn't a movie that you can go sit and do other stuff. There's some fun movies you can, but The Empty Man is not a movie for that. You're going to have to take some time, and it might lull you into kind of a halfway thing. But if you keep up with the little nuances and start noticing the little things, there's a lot of different horror in this one. I've seen some reviews mention cosmic horror, and I can really see that in some of the scenes. I give The Empty Man a treat, but this isn't a movie that you throw on with a bunch of friends and yuck it up for about 2.5 hours. This is one for a more somber viewing. Before I go, I got one more question from Monster Zero. Since you are the Tubi pimp, have you seen Savage Land? I've seen it on Amazon Prime. I know it's on Tubi too, and it's a found footage film, and it's set out. There's a town found. This migrant is found in a town. He's accused of murdering almost everybody in the town, but there's a lot of other stuff going on too. It's a found footage film. It takes a lot of today's serious politics, turns it into a horror movie, but it's not insulting. It actually asks some really good questions, and it's a really disturbing movie. It's called Savage Land. Have you seen it on Tubi, Monster Zero? But everyone else, wish you all the best, and you too, Monster Zero. But good night, everybody.
All right, first time Mike. Thanks, buddy. And great thoughts on the flick. Glad you mostly dug it. And MZ, have you seen Savage Land?
I have not. It's all one word, by the way.
Okay.
But I'm looking at it right now. I have not seen this one yet. I will queue it up because I do want to take a look at this.
I got to ask, Mr. IHOP, have you changed your opinion of the movie?
What? Seen Savage Land yet?
Not that movie, jackass.
International House of Opinions. I hoop.
Or it's like I hope he understands. I hope he understands the definition of miasma.
I still don't.
MZ, we didn't hear you.
And a lot of other words.
All right, we do have to wrap up. MZ's he's gonna wake up early, but before we do that, Tim, I also want to check in. I unfortunately haven't been keeping up with my Wang's Chop. I wanted to see, are you guys still putting out magazines regularly, or did the pandemic affect you guys?
Well, yeah, the pandemic and a lot of things actually. It's just that we're still trying to put things together, and eventually things will be rolling out on the process again.
Okay, cool.
And and I want to give a big shout out to my boy Tony Strauss, our editor, who was actually in a hospital for a serious illness, and he's prevailing, which is really making me feel good. So here's to you, brother. Survival is victory. Health is everything. Absolutely. So I mean, for all of us,
Yeah, for sure. So our best goes out to Tony as well. Yeah, hopefully everything works out. But obviously, always a fucking pleasure, man, hanging out with you. It's a blast, buddy.
Hey, man, I just want to say to all of you, thank you for giving me the privilege of being here. Because I mean, hey, man, this is I pop in and out, and I listen to shows periodically when I get a chance. And actually, believe it or not, this summer, I haven't been working, but I've been working on my house, and I, worked on my back deck. I worked on my front steps, repainting my front steps. So I was actually listening to a lot of older episodes of the show on my actual good old fashioned iPod. Still have one.
Nice.
Yep. Yeah. But I was catching up on the show, periodically, and like I said, man, it was an absolute blast to be able to sit down and shoot the shit with my boys.
Yeah, man, we go back a long way, and it's always a pleasure to catch up with you. We'll definitely have to make sure it's a lot sooner the next time, right? Because it's always a blast, man. So,
and the next time I'll remember to bring my Mrs. Buttersworth,
or as Ravenchannel likes to call her, Mrs. Butterworps.
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
So everyone, go check out Tim on the See Here. That's SEEHEAR, See Here podcast.
Yeah.
They talk about music, films, documentaries, stuff like that. It's a great podcast.
Right.
Go check it out. And go check out Tim's work in Wang's Chop and look for the new ones that are coming out. Is there anything else, Tim, you want to plug?
Well, I'm not going to pull that Pam Grier line again.
So it's always a blast, and I appreciate you coming on and talking a little bit about
thank you. Thank you guys, and I wish the best to everybody. And this is one thing I got to say though, man, is that I really have to hand it to you guys for doing this week in and week out. And I mean, and the thing is too, I think actually COVID has been a really good thing for you guys because if you were still together in the same room at the same time, I think there'd be what do they? Some people pronounce it as man's laughter. But yeah, no, but I have to seriously, like, I have to really give it to you guys for doing this as long as you have, and to continue to do this, and to really, continue to support the community that you've built.
Well, that means a lot, man, and especially coming from you. So I appreciate that. And yeah, I mean, you're probably right. We probably would all have killed each other. There'd be a very thick miasma about.
Right. Well, as long as the last episode was on pay-per-view, I mean, hey,
Exactly. We'll be on the next AEW show. It's going to be a fucking battle royal.
Exactly. For sure.
All right, Tim. Thanks.
All right.
Thanks, man.
Take care, guys.
We're going to go around and say our goodbyes, starting with MZ.
Thanks, Tim, for showing up, man. You're the man,
absolutely, man. No, I appreciate it. Thank you for letting me sit here and experience this miasma.
Arrivederci, douchebags.
All right.
Arrivederci.
Aries.
All right, it's nice having you on, Tim, and
thanks
goodbye to everyone else.
Ravenchannel.
Yo, Tim, dude, always, man, brother, I love you so much. I love your face. I love your sexy ways. I love your size. I love everything about that. I'm gonna subscribe to the CU podcast. What's that?
See here.
The CW.
All I can tell you is that the check is in the mail.
You guys talk about Green Arrow on that?
Ravenchannel, I'll send you the name of the podcast in the group chat.
Yeah, I'll do that. Send me that, and I'll over the weekend.
Okay.
But everybody tune in for Rock and Roll. Like I said, it's on YouTube. Check it out.
Yeah, do that. I love it. I love you, brother. I remember the first time that John and I talked to you back in the day. It was awesome. It was dope.
Yep.
So thank
always,
you so
man. Ditto, right back at you.
So
all right.
Everything. So yeah. So until next time.
Next time. Good night, Aunt Jemima.
With your mask on, and it was a fair criticism of a change. It's fair. It's okay to change your mind.
All right, we're done.
Night, guys.
That's good. That's going to do it. So we appreciate Tim coming and hanging out with us. We appreciate everyone watching the live show, everyone who sent in voice messages. We love you guys, and especially
all you guys,
our Patreon supporters. Thank you so much. You guys make it possible. And everyone's going to listen to this podcast. We appreciate all y'all so fucking much. And that is going to do it. So we'll be back
later, Gators.
Next week. We'll be talking about the film Martyrs Lane. It's on Shudder. Check it out. Come back and join us. Tim, take care, buddy. Thanks again, man.
Cheers. Night. Bye.